Good afternoon and welcome to the Board of County Commission meeting here in Seminole County. The date is August 27th, 2024. I would ask that each and every one of you check your cell phones, any other electronic devices you may have on your person, and silence those or put them in a state where they won't disturb the presenters or anybody from the public which is speaking, including the commission. We'd appreciate that very much. We're going to move into our public hearing agenda this afternoon, and I will be looking to my fellow commissioners for proof of publication.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Like sign. Seeing none. Each commissioner, if you have any ex parte, please disclose the nature of any that you may have and which item it may be related to.
Chairman, I have none to report.
Mr. Chairman, I received various emails and phone calls. I'd like to submit it to the clerk, if I may.
I received no ex parte communication on these items.
Mr. Chairman, I received phone calls and emails concerning the Tula Avenue property, and I have submitted them.
Commissioners, the chairman has received no ex parte communication on any of these items. I will now ask the county attorney to read the rules of public participation. Ms. Borkert, if you would be so kind.
Thank you, Chairman. While the board welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in these proceedings, Florida law requires that the board's decision in quasi-judicial actions be supported by competent substantial evidence presented to the board during the hearings on the applications. Competent substantial evidence is such evidence as a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses. Persons presenting testimony may rely on factual information that they present, information presented by county staff, information presented by the applicant, or on factual information included in the county staff report to support their testimony. All persons who present written materials to the board for consideration must ensure that a copy of such materials is provided to the clerk for inclusion in the board's record of proceedings and official minutes.
Thank you, Madam County Attorney. Dominique, if you would hold up one of those speaker forms for me, please. If anybody is here from the public and wishes to speak on any item today, you need to fill out one of these yellow forms. The clerk here is holding it up. You can find those in the lobby. We'd ask that you do that now. We are not going to permit or allow last-minute filling out to juggle in line. Please get those filled out. Get them to Dominique here immediately upon arriving and you want to speak. Also, if you don't want to speak, but you have a comment that you want entered into the record, there are other forms, green in color out there, that you can fill out. Also give those to Dominique. They'll be entered into the record, so they'll become part of the public record on today's hearings. And with that said, I would ask that we move to item 52. Our first item is the Seminole County Port Authority budget presentation. This is item 2024-1087. It will be presented by Mr. Andrew Van Gale with the Port Authority. Mr. Van Gale, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, commissioners, staff. Nice to see you guys. I'm Andrew Van Gale, 239 North Scott Avenue, and with me today is Chairman Matthew Criswell and board member Mr. Bill Spivey here representing the Port Authority. Today we're here to present our Port Authority's fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget. The Port Authority approved this budget in June of this year and recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners. And if I may briefly go over a few accomplishments from the Port Authority this year and highlight a couple things. Port's new investment policy and strategy has increased revenues from participating in local government investment pool by over $171,000 this year alone. We've conducted a market rate study and rate adjustment plan to bring our market rates up to Seminole County industrial market averages. With this, the Port anticipates increased annual revenue based on this plan, eventually increasing revenues by nearly $1 million per year. The 3-acre development site, redevelopment site we've talked about a little bit, is completely constructed in place with the water, sewer, drainage, fire suppression, and we're ready to start working on our new facilities. We're going to add 24,000 square feet of leasable space At completion of this project, we're predicting a minimum $300,000 a year extra for the 3 buildings. We maintain an occupancy rate of just about 98% for the entire year in our Commerce Park. Our longtime attorney, Mr. Stephen Coover, retired this year, so we retained an attorney, Mr. Darren Elkind, very competent and professional local government attorney from DeLand. He's been a great asset to our team. And recently, we've approved a lease compliance agreement with our tenant, the Boat Tree Marina, that establishes performance criteria and milestones to completely replace all of the docks at the marina by September of 2025. So I can get into that later if you'd like, but now onto the 2024-2025 proposed budget. In summary, the total scope of fiscal year budget is $6,678,363 for year 24-25. Budgeted operational revenue is projected to be $2,532,386. That represents an increase of 14% over the current year. Budgeted operational expenditures are $3,938,000. That's an increase of 18% over the current year. Part of the problem with the expenditures, we have capital improvements and rising construction costs to build our new facilities. In addition to the regular operating expenses, this budget includes a capital improvement plan budget of $2,675,000, primarily for constructing 2 new 6,000 square foot industrial buildings that we can lease out hopefully the following year. And you all have your budget package. I know you've gone through that, and based on our planned expenditures, to complete the redevelopment and manage the port. A surplus fund contribution in this budget to the county is currently budgeted at $150,000. And with that, we respectfully request adoption of the Seminole County Port Authority's fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget. And Chairman and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Van Galen. Mr. Criswell, do you have anything to add? Your name and address for the record.
Matthew Criswell, 779 Bear Creek Circle, Winter Springs 32708. I don't have anything to add. Andrew's done a good job. We've had a couple of hiccups. Obviously, rising costs and a few things have spiked what we thought we were going to spend. But other than that, I think we've maintained a pretty good facility out there.
Great, thank you. Stand by. Any inquiries by the board? Commissioner Herr, I know you are the appointee to this board.
I am.
Thank you.
And I'll be glad to do a wrap-up if there's any other inquiries.
I have some inquiries, but I'd like to hear from you first,
Okay.
because you may address my concerns.
Right. Ditto.
So
Probably not.
would you two prefer to go before Commissioner Herr or Commissioner Herr?
I would prefer for them to go first.
Okay, why don't we go with Commissioner Lockhart and then Commissioner Delary, and we'll let Commissioner Herr. Commissioner Constantine, do you have any inquiries?
Not now.
Okay.
No.
He reserves the right. to
Otherwise, I
have
would just
input.
start at that end and work our way
I'm
down.
waiting for the other questions.
All right, Commissioner Lockhart.
Not serving as the representative on this board, I hear bits and pieces of what's going on and some of the challenges that you've alluded to. Certainly, we want to make sure that the budget is going to fix some of the concerns that have been brought to our attention in terms of capital improvements and some of the infrastructure that needs updating. And I'm just not sure if the lease agreement that you identified is going to fix all of the issues, or should there be something reflected in your budget that the port is making improvements as well?
Well, it's kind of 2 different issues, Commissioner. The lease compliance agreement deals solely with the marina tenant, just the docks and the facilities. The rest of the industrial park, the rest of the 500,000 square feet, our master drainage system, all the infrastructure is completely in place, even for our new buildings. So infrastructure at the Port Authority in our Commerce Park is 100%. The deficiencies we've come across now is our 30, 40-year-old marina with an operator and a very long-term lease. And that infrastructure, primarily being docks, C, D, and E, the 3 major docks, are planned now with our lease compliance agreement to be completely demolished, reinstalled, or actually new docks in place with new electrical, new fire, new plumbing by 2025 of September. So we have an agreement with the current leaseholder, and keep in mind, these are for 25-year lease. There's 100 years still left on this master lease that is kind of tied up, and it's happened back in the day in the local governments leasing these properties out. So the infrastructure itself, the Port Authority does have funds. We've got a pretty good reserve fund. We do not intend, per se, spending capital on the docks. However, we are prepared to take that over if we need to. We're prepared to, finance docks. We're also in this lease agreement. We understand the marina operator, Boatry Marinas, may be selling, the marina may be on the market. So along with this agreement, this requires an escrow account for the replacements of the docks if the marina were to transfer, to assign, to sell that leasehold. So we have an agreement in place where a new buyer would put in funds to complete the docks based on engineers or certified engineers' costs plus 15% contingency. So we feel pretty prepared, and we think this may happen. We may get a new owner, and with that a escrow fund. Just to give you an update, not only is these docks supposed to be completely renovated or actually demolished and replaced 100%, we also require complete design and engineering plans to be submitted to you, Seminole County, and FDEP for permitting by October 30th of this year, 2024. So they're diligently designing new docks, and these compliance agreements are, really written out well by our attorney and the marina's attorney. So they've all agreed to these milestones in place. So we're pretty confident on that. We're prepared to, if we have to step in.
Okay. And I don't want to get into the business of the marina, but it does directly impact the finances of the marina if that leaseholder doesn't come through. So if you have prepared financially in this budget for that eventuality, that's what I needed to hear.
I think Commissioner Herr wants to comment as a representative on that board.
We have not, in this budget, contemplated that the lease will be broken. We have not.
Correct.
Okay. So what's the backup plan?
Well, let's work through that. The timing of that, should the lease be broken, it's not like on October 30th that they fail apart. We then go to court. So it would be next year that we have to start thinking about that.
At the earliest next year.
At the earliest. Well, we would start thinking about it next year in prep for the following, probably
Correct.
2 years' worth of budget. So
Okay.
it is not imminent.
Okay.
And it's really important to point out that the lease was done way before any of our times.
Right.
And what they're paying in rent contemplates that they are obligated to keep that infrastructure up to date. It was not the port's responsibility to keep the infrastructure up to date. It was the tenants. And so we now have to hold them accountable for doing that based on where it is today.
Okay.
And that is what we're doing.
Which puts the port in a very difficult position.
Yeah, we are in a very difficult
So
position.
if the you-know-what hits the fan, we won't have to worry, that will not be reflected until next year's budget.
You're correct.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Commissioner DeLaurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that input as well as from the representative and
Yes,
also
sir.
Commissioner Lockhart. But when you're presenting this to our staff, make sure you're taking life safety into account, and they may have to make temporary adaptations to their plan from a life safety standpoint, and I'm sure all the professionals will be looking at that in the proper sense of what it's supposed to entail. And I'll stop there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I'll let
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Herr wrap this up since she is the liaison appointed to that board, but I do have some thoughts. As spending, I think, 3 years on that board representing the county, first I want to applaud you all for all the capital improvements that you've made over there without bonding them, without financing them, doing so through general revenue funds. And it appears we're winding that down, notwithstanding some of the increased costs because of chain supply and contractor costs and so forth. But I truly am, notwithstanding what happens with this problematic lease that you've been discussing, really am looking in the near future when we're going to start returning more dollars to the taxpayers of this county from the Port Authority.
Yes, sir.
I'm also happy that I know we started talking about it don't know, 5 years ago when I was on that board, about getting the rates closer to a market rate. I'm glad to see that's happening. I'm glad to see you now have new counsel, which appears to be assisting and helping move things along. So from that aspect, bravo, good work. I do, however, look forward to the time in the near future where we're putting more revenue back into the taxpayers' coffers, so.
Yes, sir. And if I may just touch on that, our total surplus fund contribution from 2001 to 2024, 24 years, is $12,330,000. That averages $513,750 a year.
Sure.
So,
But there were years that were in the 300,000 range, and there was years that were in the $1 million range. So I get it, as a businessman, understood, but now that these capital projects appear to be winding down, my expectation would be, as rents have gone to market rate,
Yes, sir.
the taxpayers should see a better income stream to help offset their tax
and
burden.
then, of course, the ad valorem revenue matches that. So really,
Right.
we're kind of $1 million a year contributing to the greater economy here. And,
Sure.
So we're working on that, and we'll see how the building construction goes. We'll see what the bids come in at. We'll see if we pay cash or finance, but those are things for our board
Sure.
to figure out, too.
Great.
So,
Well,
I think
thank
it'd
you.
be remiss to say that without capital expenditures and without moving, we also have to think about what we've done in the past and keeping that up to
Of course.
date too. So not only are we, redoing our waterways and our drainage, we have to think about the buildings that are old that we haven't looked at in the past 10, 15, 20
Right.
years. So,
Sure,
and we haven't done any marketing for the Port Authority.
right.
It's just the simple paper stuff. So there are things that we could do to capitalize a little bit more and give more money back, but it also, we have to put that back into
Understood.
operating capital. So
100%.
we have a really good set of board members now. I think, we haven't had any turnover in 5 years. We have some that
You're
have been there for
welcome.
30, so.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
We appoint the board members, that's awesome. That's great feedback.
It's a good team.
That's good. I'm glad that's working out.
Go team.
Go big.
And you guys are part of it. I think I've been involved with the county more this year than the last 20 years, so.
That's
You're
right.
welcome again.
Not that I want to do, but it's there. But thank you guys too. Thank you, the fire
Well,
chiefs and Tricia and Ms. Diaz, and of course,
Mr. Chairman?
your team.
Well, we certainly appreciate the relationship in helping us do
Mr.
that.
Chairman?
Commissioner Delory.
I know a lot of things have been happening out there this year. We all know about it. And I just want to not just thank you, but our staff, the building department, the fire marshal. I think they've all done a phenomenal job. And, as you move forward, life safety is the primary issue out there.
Yeah. I don't sleep a lot on weekends. I'm there almost every weekend, just trying to.
Well, as well
handle this.
as our sheriff's department, which
Yeah.
done fantastic work over there.
I
All right,
just-
how about I wrap this
If
up?
you could bring this in for a landing, it'd be
Let's
very
bring
much
this in for a
appreciated.
landing. We have a full audience today. I'll start with the marinas lease. First of all, safety has been the priority of this board since the day this all started. And I will tell you that I think we can congratulate our staff for the work that they've done. And I would also tell you that it has taken some leadership involvement to eliminate some of the confusion that our team has created for your team. We need to acknowledge that publicly, that we are here together and we need to all continue to row this boat in the same direction. I appreciate you recognizing that we are debt-free and that is part of the reason why the returns to the county have been minimal. I cannot say enough good things about the new attorney. Darren Elkind has done a wonderful job at literally steering this ship into the right direction. He has a great working relationship. I see the team over here is like, we are really in a good place from that perspective. That $1 million per year increase is phased in over time. I just wanted to say that out loud again so that when we come back here next year, we're not expecting that turned on a dime. We have to be respectful of the tenants that are out there. They also are in the middle of leases, so they will escalate over time. One person's wrapping up a capital improvement is this person's. We're just starting. The shovel hasn't hit the ground yet, so don't be thinking this is going to pop out of the ground over the next 6 months and we're going to have renters in there. It's not. It's going to happen probably, it will take longer than that probably for us to permit it. So let me just point that out, that as we do the permits, the longer we wait on them, the longer that we don't have rent in those locations. So there's my heads up to our team. And I am going to give a big shout out to board member Bill Spivey, who really drove the process home for an investment policy and moving things out of no interest paying accounts into interest paying accounts that is literally revenue that is fallen from heaven. And to our chairman, Mr. Criswell, excellent job this year at navigating what has been a difficult year. We have a really good team. I am really happy with the report and super happy with Andrew in terms of being able to flip the switch and do market studies and go out and ask for increases that are higher than we've ever asked for before, and we are worth it. So it's really been a good year.
Thank you.
Truly a diamond in the rough. We are.
I thought you were talking
Good
about
job,
Andrew.
guys.
I was going to say, he's a lot bigger than you. You might want to tune that.
All right. Is there anyone from the public, Ms. Dominique, here to speak on this matter?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion, go to board action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Spivey.
And Mr. Constantine.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
he
sir.
usually brought the check with him, you know?
That's October. The year's not over yet.
Yeah, remember we shifted
Just
gears.
wondering where it was.
We
Close our books.
We shifted gears to get in budget presentations much sooner for obvious reasons. Well, thank you all very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, next we're moving into our public hearing quasi-judicial portion of the hearings. I will remind everyone once again, if you are here to speak on any of the items on this agenda or speak after the meeting in open public speaking, you will need to fill out one of these yellow forms that Ms. Dominique is holding up here. Be found in the lobby, bring them forward. We're not going to wait until the item on the agenda has started to have people run down here and say, oh, I got to fill out a form. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you don't want to speak and you want to make a comment for the record, there's green forms out there. Just write what you want to go on the record. We'll make sure that all the commissioners review it. It will become part of the record. I also want to say proper decorum is expected today. I know some of these issues can be emotional for neighbors and people that live in a general area. We would ask you, and we will tell you, we will not tolerate any yelling out. It is not time to have dialogue back and forth between the public and the commission on these hearing items. We also will not tolerate waving signs or jumping up and down and screaming. We understand some of these things are emotional and near and dear to people's hearts. We would just ask you to be professional, conduct yourselves accordingly. If you like what a public speaker is saying, just simply hold your thumb up. If you don't like what they're saying, hold your thumb down. We also want to encourage folks, do not try to be duplicative in what another speaker is saying in the interest of time. We are hearing, we're paying attention, all the commissions are focused. So if you have somebody that wants to talk about traffic on the same item, there's really not a whole need for another 2 or 3 or 4 people to speak about traffic. We got it. I will give as much latitude as I possibly can, but if it gets too far out of hand, I will cut you short. My apologies in advance. It's not intentional. It's out of respect to the board as well as the general public. So thank you. We're going to move on to our first item, which is item 53. The Castleberry Public Storage SSFLUMA and PD rezone, item 2024-0944. Ms. Annie Silloway will be presenting. Ms. Silloway?
Hi, good afternoon. For the record, Annie Silloway with Development Services. The applicant is requesting a small-scale future land use map amendment from commercial to planned development and a rezone from C2 general commercial to PD planned development to redevelop the existing 3.91 acre mini storage facility site to a self-storage facility. The subject property is currently developed as a non-climate-controlled mini-storage facility with 16 storage buildings that were permitted in 1986. At that time, the existing commercial future land use and C2 zoning classification allowed self-storage as permitted use. Due to revisions to the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code over the years, storage facilities are now considered an industrial use and are no longer permitted under the commercial future land use and C2 zoning classification. The applicant proposes to redevelop the site with 2 climate-controlled storage buildings with an overall maximum floor area ratio of 1.25, a gross floor area of 158,219 square feet and 3 stories with a maximum building height of 45 feet for the main building that faces State Road 436 and for the second building a maximum building height of 15 feet located behind the main building. There are approximately 2 acres of floodplain on site, and redevelopment of the site will address stormwater runoff and provide compensating storage for the mitigation of floodplain, which will be efficient compensating storage due to the floodplain issues. The existing communication tower on the northwest portion of the site will remain and will have legal access. The applicant's request for the plan development future land use and PD plan development zoning classification is due to the proposed FAR of 1.25 exceeding the commercial future land use FAR limit of 0.35. In the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan under Objective 4.4 and Chapter 30, Part 25 of the PD zoning classification, there is no limit for FAR as each development is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. The property's small acreage presents a challenge regarding the land development code requirements related to the maximum building height of 35 feet to the proposed building height of 45 feet. The reason for the increase in building height is due to the redevelopment of the site to mitigate for the substantial floodplain area. These 2 items limit the area as to where the storage buildings can be placed. Due to the limitations on site, the applicant has agreed to the following site condition designs to mitigate any impacts to the surrounding uses and properties. Outdoor storage will be prohibited. The applicant has provided an architectural rendering that shows mirrored windows that will face State Road 436 that will be placed in the development order as Exhibit C. The applicant will provide 2 electric vehicle charging stations. Entrance bay doors to access the main building will not be visible from State Road 436 and will only face internally to the site. And the applicant is meeting the building setbacks in the C2 retail commercial zoning designation. The site is located in the City of Castleberry's utility service area and will be required to connect to public utilities for water, and capacity is available. A gravity sewer main is not available in the area, and the requirements to install a septic tank will be determined at the final development plan as an engineered site plan. Staff finds the requested PD zoning classification to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the trend of development in the area along State Road 436, which consists of general commercial and high-intensity commercial uses, including big box stores, for example, like Walmart. The proposed development will provide an upgrade to the visual appearance of the current mini storage on the property and is similar to the public storage facility located south of State Road 436, approximately a half a mile south at 1355 State Road 436 in Castleberry. The applicant conducted a community meeting on April 9th in 2024. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on July 10th, 2024, and voted unanimously to recommend the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed ordinance enacting a small-scale future land use map amendment from commercial to plan development and adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from C2 to PD plan development and approve the associated development order and master development plan for redevelopment. So, final conclusion, staff requests the Board of County Commissioners approve the requested small-scale future land use map amendment and concurrent rezone as per the following. 1, based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at the hearing, the board finds the request meets the identified portions of the comprehensive plan and moves to approve the requested small-scale future land use map amendment from commercial to plan development. And 2, based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at the hearing, the board finds the request meets the identified portions of the Seminole County Land Development Code and moves to approve the requested rezone from C2 Retail Commercial to PD Plan Development and any associated development order and master development plan. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Silloway.
Thank you.
Any questions or inquiries to staff at this point? Please stand by. Mr. Morgado, is he here and wish to make any presentation or statement? Sir, if you'd come forward, your name and address for the record, you'll be allowed to give a presentation. We'll take input from the public. Afterwards, you'll be allowed a rebuttal if necessary, and if you desire to do so. So proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Tom Sullivan with the Gray Robinson Law Firm, 301 East Pine Street in Orlando. I'm just here on behalf of the applicant. Just wanted to thank staff for their detailed presentation. We worked well on this project, excited about the redevelopment opportunity, as they said, and happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Ms. Dominique, do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
We close public comment on this item. We will go to the board for board action. This is Commissioner Lockhart's district. Commissioner?
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions and put it on the record. And Mr. Sullivan, maybe, yeah, I didn't know if the staff was.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
And Ms. Silloway, you also. When you said septic tank wasn't available, what does that mean? Is it, I mean, you said sewer was not available. What does that mean? Is it not, it was not within a certain area? Is it not, in the opinion of the staff and/or applicant, not financially feasible? What does that mean, that it's not available? Because there is sewer in Castleberry.
Yes, Castleberry does have sewer lines, just not for this location. My statement was that it will be determined at final development plan as an engineered site plan. As the plan shows right now, there's an existing septic tank on site, and the applicant wants to keep the existing septic tank, but they were unsure if they would need to either install a new one or relocate the existing one. So that's why I said that it would be determined at basically final engineering.
Thank you. And I do understand, I'm just have a serious question, and I do understand that it is, that we always talk about when we change from any zoning to a PD, what are we, the citizens, getting for that? In this case, I think the one thing that you mentioned is it looks nicer.
Yes, sir.
That is the one thing that it's, and it is going to help with the drainage situation.
Yes, sir.
But you said that the height was based upon drainage. But Mr. Sullivan, would you not say that it's really based upon you're going from 68,000 square feet to 153,000 square feet? And going from a floor to area ratio of 0.35 to 1.25.
Well, you're right, Commissioner Constantine. I mean, certainly we're the existing site. I think it's 12 or so single-story buildings. I think it was built in 1986, so it's pretty antiquated and kind of outmoded. So the new building, as you saw the image of, which I appreciate the reference to it being more attractive than what's there now, which I certainly agree with. But that's why we're essentially, you're right, the square footage is increasing, and because we're really going up the 3 stories. I think actually the actual amount of the land area that's being used is shrinking by a little bit, but we're picking up the additional square footage with the requested increase in height. And I think that height and the resulting square footage is, I think you'll find it's in keeping with newer storage facilities that you see, so.
I just wanted to get that for the record, because it's really not just for the drainage, it's so that you can increase the...
Yeah, I mean, the site, I don't disagree with you. I mean, the site, like, as Annie mentioned, there's only so much area you can use because of the floodplain, so they're sort of interrelated, but we are going up to the 3 stories, yes.
Maybe it would be helpful for our staff to reiterate what was said initially about the PUD and industrial zoning under the new comp plan provisions. I think that was covered in the very early portion of the statement as far as floor area ratio. So you want to just repeat that again so all the commissioners get to hear that?
Hi. Annie Selloway for the record. Yes, so self-storage units are typically allowed with the future land use of industrial.
And the floor area ratio.
The floor area ratio that they're proposing is 1.25. Industrial allows in our comp plan, if it was industrial future land use, of 0.65.
Understood.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further inquiries? Seeing none, we'll go to the District Commissioner. Commissioner Lockhart, this is your district for guidance.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion based on staff's findings and the testimony and evidence received at today's hearing to move to approve the requested small-scale future land use map amendment from commercial to PD and the approve the requested rezone from C2 to PD and any associated development order and master plan development.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silway. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. All right, our next item up is item 54. This is 5080 Wayside Drive Special Exception, item 2024-0950. Ms. Angie Gates will be the presenter. Ms. Gates?
Good afternoon. For the record, Angie Gates, planner with Development Services. The applicant is requesting a special exception approval to operate an assisted living facility that will care for 12 non-driving residents located at 5080 Wayside Drive in Sanford in the A1 Agricultural Zoning District. In 1998, the Board of Adjustment approved a special exception for a maximum of 12 residents at the subject property. The Seminole County Land Development Code states that when a use of land for a special exception has been vacated or abandoned for 180 days or longer, the use of the land shall revert to the permitted uses in the district in which said land is located. In 1998, the special exception expired, in 1998, special exception expired when the property became vacant for over 180 days, sometime in 2021, requiring the current owner to apply for a new special exception. The requested use is compatible with the character of the surrounding area and is consistent with the trend of development. The surrounding area consists of single-family residential, multifamily, apartments, and retail commercial. The proposed use meets the criteria for granting of a special exception and will allow the applicant to reinstate the same use that was previously in place for approximately 23 years. In compliance with the community meeting procedures, the applicant conducted a community meeting on October 31st, 2023. The details of the community meeting have been provided in the agenda package. And on July 10th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception to allow the assisted living facility with 12 residents. Staff also recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception and associated development order for an assisted living facility with no more than 12 residents. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Gates. Any inquiries to staff at this time? Seeing none, is the applicant present and wish to make any statements or presentation? Come on down, sir. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Syed Zadi for the record, and we are requesting this building, we're requesting to have permission from the county to set up this assisted living facility. Quick statement, there is a critical shortage of ALFs these days, challenge of providing good, comfortable housing for elderly, with supportive services for some of the most vulnerable group of our society, folks who are at 65 years or older. There are Florida health officials are tracking about 243 unlicensed ALFs at this point in Florida. 40 of them are in our neighborhood. Unfortunately, with the state sitting at number 2 at highest, for those age 65 and above, we are in dire need of ALFs, which are licensed, which have the capability and facility that can provide good quality support to our elderly. So we're requesting for that, and if there are any questions, I'm here.
Thank you very much. Any inquiries from the applicant? Seeing none? All right, sir, if you'll stand by. Do we have any public comment on this item, Ms. Dominic?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll close public comment and go to board action and inquiries. Any inquiries at this point from the board? Seeing none, this is Commissioner Herr's district. We'll go to Commissioner Herr for direction.
First of all, I'd like to start by saying I'm thankful that you're coming to the neighborhood and doing this, and it's licensed, it's small, and it will bring a service to the community. I happen to be the benefactor of a situation like this when my mother was in need of this care, and we were blessed to have somebody that did this in the neighborhood. So with that, I move to approve the special exception to allow an assisted living facility with 12 residences in the A1 Agricultural District on 1.44 acres located on the north side of Wayside Drive, west of International Parkway.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? I would only say, my comments are, this I believe is a great asset to the community. I have a core belief that people who raise their families and run their businesses in a community should be able to find a way to age in place within their community and not have to go to the other side of the county or outside of this county to receive these services. And by the way, 65 is not old.
I was thinking you were going to pick up on that.
Mr. Chairman, you're right, 65 is...
I'm not there yet, but I'm pretty close. So, and I plan on being around for a few more years. But yeah, we sincerely have to really take a look at these hard as we move forward in this county. As you know, it doesn't make sense to be driving family and support services of family all over the place to be with their loved, aging relatives. So with that, I will move, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign, seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
sir.
much. I just want to say my father is 75 and he won't hire a lawnmower guy, so I'm like, he keeps doing it by himself, so.
He'll stay young.
Good for him.
Thank you. All right, our next item up is item 55, Tula Avenue right-of-way vacate. This is item 2024-1013. This also will be presented by Ms. Annie Silloway, Senior Planner. Ms. Silloway, you're up.
Hi, good afternoon. For the record, Annie Silloway with Development Services. The applicant has petitioned the county to vacate and abandon an uncut portion of the public right-of-way known as Tula Avenue of the Des Pinar Acres subdivision as recorded in Plat Book, page 12, Plat Book 12, page 52 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida. The applicant owns both parcels adjacent to the north and south of the right-of-way subject to the vacate and proposes to incorporate the subject 66-foot right-of-way into their property as part of a future proposed development. There is an existing private access/billboard easement that is by and between Greater Properties, Inc. and Landmark Infrastructure Holding Company, LLC, located within the uncut portion of right-of-way, which will remain intact at this time. The right-of-way is a cul-de-sac and does not provide access to any surrounding properties and will not result in any parcels being landlocked. The applicant has provided letters of no objection from all applicable utility companies, and Public Works has no objection to the requested vacate. At the request of the Sunshine Water Utility Company, the applicant has provided a utility easement agreement for the subject property. A notice was published on August 11, 2024, 2 weeks prior to this public hearing pursuant to Section 33610.10 of the Florida State Statute. The right-of-way vacate request meets the requirements of Section 35.184 of the Seminole County Land Development Code and Section 336.09 Florida statutes. I would like to bring it to the board's attention that staff received 21 emails of opposition after the agenda was printed. The letters of opposition were distributed via email this morning to all board members, as well as the clerk of the court. Staff has also received additional letters of opposition this afternoon that I have submitted to the clerk to be included as part of the record. So my conclusion to this is staff requests the Board of County Commissioners adopt the resolution vacating and abandoning an uncut portion of the public right-of-way known as Tula Avenue, as recorded in Plat Book 12, page 52 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Silloway. Any inquiries with staff at this juncture? Do we have a representative from the applicant? I suspect we have
Yes.
Mary Solik.
Yes.
Solik, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mary Solik, 121 South Orange Avenue, Suite 1500, Orlando, Florida. I represent the property owner, Everglades College, Inc. This is a very narrow issue in front of you today, and that is simply the vacation of the public right-of-way that really serves no public use any longer. You have a lot of people here, I think, that want to speak to this item, and I would respectfully request that you hear them and then let me come back up and respond to that citizen input, unless you have questions for me.
That's the way we operate. We'll give you a rebuttal.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me that I can answer?
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, stand by, please.
Okay.
Ms. Dominique, we have anybody from the public wishes to speak on this matter? And if so, I see you grinning and holding papers. So tell me how many.
We have 15.
Because we're going to move them through here quick.
15 speakers.
15. Have any of those individuals indicated they are speaking on behalf of a homeowners association or a group as a whole?
No, sir.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to call the first three names. We're going to ask those first three to line up against the wall back here, so we try to move you through. Again, what we want to hear what you have to say, but we want you to be courteous and aware of the time of your fellow citizens who may have children in school or other obligations. We hope that you will not be duplicative in what each person wants to say. Again, I'm going to give you as much latitude as we can, but if every person comes up here and says, traffic, 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 I'm going to cut you short. So please be respectful and responsive to those requests. Again, we know it's emotional in these matters. Thumbs up if you agree with the speaker, thumbs down if you don't. We'll all get through this real good. So, Ms. Dominic, please call the first three.
John Higgins, Daniel Sharon, and Lynn Sanford.
All right, if you three would line up and please indicate to us whether you're in favor or against as you come up, and you'll want to give us your name and address.
My name is John Higgins.
And you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, and I live at 130 Hunters Trail, Longwood, Florida, 32779. And I am 77 years old. In case anybody wants to know, do I get a prize or anything?
You might.
I've lived for 45 years with my wife and raised my family along Markham Woods Road, which this property is very, very close to. And during that period of time, I've seen the traffic volume increase tremendously. It's difficult as things stand now for people to get out of their development to get onto Markham Woods Road. There's so much traffic. And on days when I-4 is backed up and people get off I-4, they use Markham Woods Road as a shortcut. And that makes it even more difficult. This proposed project, it's my understanding, is to approve about 1,000 students in a new university to be housed in this property. And adding twice a day about 1,000 cars up and down Markham Woods Road and E.E. Williamson, we think would present a problem. I say we because I've talked to several of my neighbors about it. For 10 years, I was involved with the Markham Woods Association. I am a past president, and I know how our 3,500 residents can get upset about a subject. I bring back to mind the septic tank proposed legislation, and which we had to get a lawyer to help us resolve. But in addition to the traffic, we're very concerned also about both the quality and the volume of the traffic. Quality because they will be young students, college students, driving in a 45 mile an hour zone on Markham Woods Road. And there are several schools in the area, one elementary school within a quarter of a mile, which is Woodlands Elementary, and Rock Lake Middle School, where children from both the south and the north side of E.E. Williamson cross all the time, and that road would be trafficked by these younger, perhaps not as experienced drivers that will be new to the area. So we earnestly ask you to consider not giving this group its first approval, which will require more and more variances before they finally get approval. But we ask you not to give them the first approval to discourage them from proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to remind everyone that although we may be able to speculate what might be requested at some future date in this area, we're here to talk about a vacate of a right-of-way. There's not a project in front of us. There's not a building or a zoning change in front of us. So we're here to hear about the vacate of the right-of-way, just so we're clear. Although we might want to talk about what we think might come or what could occur or who may be driving in that area, we're here strictly to consider a vacate of right-of-way. So,
Chairman?
Yes.
Would it be helpful if I talked about the criteria for
Sure,
a
go-
vacation, for a
go-
right-of-way vacation?
absolutely, go right ahead.
Right-of-way vacations, the criteria for approving those is simply based on what the county's departments, whether or not they need the right-of-way for anything, utilities or access or anything like that, and whether or not the vacation of that right-of-way will cut off access or affect anyone's convenient access to their property. In this case, it's just a sliver of a road that was cut off at one time by I-4 and then has a cul-de-sac at the end and doesn't connect, so there's no access issues there. And really, those are the only items that the board really looks at when reviewing vacation requests. But I will also say in that same breath that it's completely within the board's purview to determine under the Florida statutes whether or not you want to vacate a road right-of-way that's been dedicated to the public. But those are what the code says that, are looked at in this case.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Daniel Sharon, and I live at 890 Fern Drive, which is 2 lots up from the proposed vacate. We're concerned about the proposed use of the property. If the vacate is approved, we see no benefit to the public to approve the vacate. And the proposed land use would be detrimental to not just the 4 houses that were noticed within 500 feet, but thousands of homeowners in the surrounding area. I'd like to know who benefits by vacating versus not vacating. And is there any way to set limits on the traffic impact to match the existing traffic density of the users that are already on the roadway, i.e. homeowners? I'm guessing, not being an engineer, it's 2 to 3 cars per acre. And if you apply the same traffic density to the proposed project, it violates everything in the surrounding area as far as land use. There are churches, schools, homes, pedestrians, a bike trail, and the natural beauty of the area that would be dramatically altered by the proposed use. By not approving the request to vacate, it sends a message to the landowner that we as a community are opposed to the potential use, and they might want to put the property up for sale, and we can get a less traffic-intense land use in that property. Doctor's office, memory care facility, something that does not require 1,000 or 2,000 cars a day to access it. The other thing is, we all know that if a university gets 2,000 students, they'll find a way to accommodate those students. So right now they're talking about 1,000, but they can add hours, they can add classrooms, they'll start.
Mr. Sharon, I'm going to ask you to try to keep on the scope of the vacate.
Okay, all right. I'm also concerned about the potential liabilities for the citizens, the county officials, and other parties that are involved in this decision process. I think it's dangerous and ill-advised. Thank you.
Thank you. Dominique, if you would call the next 3 up, please.
Raymond Bowen,
Mr. Bowen,
Larry Jerry,
Larry Jerry,
and Robert Turnage.
and Mr. Turnage. Okay. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My
Yep.
name is Lynn Sanford. I live on 1868 Arlington Court in Longwood. I know we're not supposed to be concentrating on the traffic situation. I think most people realize it would increase traffic dramatically. But one thing some people might not have realized is the traffic heading south on E.E. Williamson at this point, trying to turn left onto Markham Woods Road, which I believe is south, frequently is so backed up, this is before any additional traffic, that they come into my subdivision, Arlington Court, Arlington Park, and they try to manipulate it so they can make a right turn. It's very annoying to have extra traffic in a subdivision that only has 14 homes, and that's it.
Thank you very much for your brevity. And again, I just want to remind everyone, again, we don't know, we can all speculate what might go on this property. There are going to be plenty of times for the public to weigh in on anything that may be proposed to go on this property. And of course, those individuals will be noticed through the regular agenda process as well as the surrounding community. So let's try to keep it to the scope of what we're here today. Yes, sir.
My name is Larry Gary. I live at 1205 Mallett Court, Mandarin Estates subdivision. This is right across from this property in question, whether they're going to want to vacate this one road, which means this is like the first step they're taking so they can develop this into, what I understand is that this property is owned by Everglades University, and so we're all concerned that if they're going to be putting in a college there, I've heard it's going to be a junior college, I don't know what it's going to be, but we're all concerned about that and the traffic again. I don't understand why these Board of County Commissioners don't make these people develop out away from residential areas and make them, you know, if they want a college, put it out in the county somewhere, and you can still get the revenue from the county. Because we're already jammed up on traffic everywhere you look. The roads are all jammed up because we have way too much development. I'd like to put a moratorium banning any more development, period, if I had my say-so. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Gary.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Mr. Turnage. Are you next up, sir?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you, and I'll keep this brief and in respect of your time.
Thank you, sir.
I understand that the request before you today is very limited to approving the request for vacation of the right-of-way, and that planning has recommended that you do so. We're recommending the 3,500 homes. I'm president of the Markham Woods Association, 3,500 homes along Markham Woods. We're recommending that you deny the request today because in 2023, Everglades bought this property. They had a pre-application meeting where they stated their plans are to build a 40,000 square foot office building, 1,500 students with the appropriate staff and professors, knowing that this property is completely terrible for that. It's not fitting in. It's A1, it's estate homes, it's surrounded by estate homes. There's no way to get in and out of it right now, and it would have to come out to E.E. Williamson right next to the bike trail, which is a major crossing. That would endanger everyone crossing E.E. Williamson on the bike path. So understand that you don't have a PD in front of you yet, but they've stated that those are their plans. So it is within your power to deny this today, and that's what we're asking that you do. And that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Mr. Turnage. If you would,
Yes,
real
sir.
quick, just give us your full name and address.
Oh,
we
sorry.
didn't get that on the record.
Robert Turnage. I was trying to keep it brief.
I understand.
7 Trilby Branch, Longwood, Florida, 32779. And again, President, Markham Woods Association.
Thank you, sir. Next up, and Dominique, if you'd call the next three.
Next three, Eric Duncan,
Duncan,
Judy Woodward,
Woodward,
and James Dunn.
Dunn. If y'all would be so kind to line up over here, we'll get y'all through here. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak my mind. I'm not sure exactly where I need to go, but I own and reside, my name is Raymond Bowen, and I reside at 1223 Sunshine Tree Boulevard in Longwood, 32779. I'm an honorably discharged Marine who served during the Korean conflict of 54 to 57. I firmly believe that a man's home is his castle and that no man or business should be able to infringe on his rights. Everglades University is attempting to do that just by asking to vacate Tula Avenue, which is just a short piece of road currently being used as a parking lot. With Tula Avenue vacated, it would allow them to build their university, which is purported to expand to 1,000 residents, students, plus staff. And we know that young folks are going to be driving cars, so we're talking about another 1,000 cars that are on the roadways. Several years ago, the School of Arts asked for variances to enlarge their student body. It was approved despite our protest. Now, our once quiet and serene neighborhood is overrun by traffic. We now have double-painted lines running down the street, electronic speed signs, stop signs, and speeding parents who drop off and pick up students daily, except for on weekends. In the morning and evening, the cars are backed up around the block. I bought this home because I wanted to retire in a neighborhood that provided a serene country atmosphere. We now have what we tried to avoid. I'm almost 90 years old and moving is not an option. The proposed site is surrounded by the Woodlands, Mandarin, and several other large enclaves, which includes Woodland Elementary. Woodland Elementary is jam-packed every day. Traffic backed up waiting to get in. There are two main roads leading into the site in question. They are E.E. Williamson and Markham Woods Road, and they're already bogged down with traffic. There's a two-lane bridge crossing I-4 which cannot handle the traffic, and more people use our complex to miss the light at the intersection of Williamson and Markham Woods. Most of the students will be driving vehicles, and our roads are not capable to handle the increased traffic. Please list me and my tax-paying estate as objecting to the proposal to vacate Tula Avenue and to the construction of the new university. And I signed it, Raymond William Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Indeed. So I just want to remind everyone again, we want to give you the opportunity to speak. We've heard about the traffic. We've heard about young drivers. We've heard about the speculation that there's going to be a university campus built there. If you can find it in your heart of hearts not to be redundant on what's already been said, we'd sincerely appreciate it. Add anything new that you want us to hear would be very beneficial to us. So, sir, if you'd give us your name and address for the record, please, and proceed.
My name is James Dunn. I live at 1201 Palmetto Court, Longwood, 32779. I promise not to mention traffic. This is basically about money. I was a builder. They want you to vacate the street so they could build a bigger building and create an office building in a community that has no office buildings. There's also a drainage problem. You add square footage like you were talking about with the storage unit. There is no vacant land for them enough to put drainage, water retention pond on the property. So if you vacate the street, they'll build a bigger building, taller building, and they'll be able to make more money. So as a taxpayer in Longwood, I think this should not be about money. This should not be allowed because they're going to build a commercial building in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, please.
Can I interject? This is Annie Silway for the record with Development Services. I just wanted to give a little brief history on the portion to be vacated and why it's being requested.
I don't know that's appropriate at this moment, but
Okay.
let's hold off. We'll come back to staff inquiries. Let's get through the public comment. Thank you, Ms. Silway. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Woodward. I live at 1218 Sunshine Tree Boulevard in Longwood. And I concur, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time because I concur with what everyone has said regarding traffic and congestion and whatever. The one thing I guess that I want to say is Sunshine Tree Boulevard crosses E.E. Williamson where the access road would be for any future development on that piece of property. We have the trail right there. We have E.E. Williamson. We have one School of the Arts, which nobody has mentioned. They travel through there. They come in and out of our subdivision. So it would just be a nightmare at that intersection with Sunshine Tree and this and E.E. Williamson. And like I said, you don't want to hear a whole lot more about traffic and congestion. We don't want any more of that in our area. I've been there 38 years. I've seen a lot of changes. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Woodward. I think all the citizens of this county would agree that we don't want any more traffic or congestion anywhere in this county, but we fortunately, that's where we find ourselves. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's, Eric Duncan. I live at 5 Stonegate North Longwood, about 1 mile north on Markham Woods. I'll keep it short and simple. I went to the location area about 2 hours ago. I drove there. I like to drive around, make sure I understand the facts. I took a dozen pictures in all different directions, okay? The main concern I would say is don't allow any of this, because I wouldn't even allow one extra car. The reason being, Woodlands is 1/3 of a mile away from this area. Our kids walk down those new sidewalks. The safety of those kids is more important. And I think there's many other choices where these people can go. I know that's a future discussion. By the way, I would go to the Seminole Mall, repurpose it, and that's a great place to go. Plenty of parking, a lot of roads to get there. Thank you very much. The safety of our kids is my concern.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Dominic. All right, folks, please. Next three, please.
Ken Smart, Laura Clem, and Maria Tama.
Smart, Clem, and Tomlin. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys being here and listening to us. My name is Kim Smart. I live at 750 Fern Drive in Longwood. And I received a notice in the mail because my house is within 500 feet of Tula Avenue. We purchased our property 10 years ago with the intention of building a home on it because it's nice and quiet in the area, and yet it has proximity to a lot of the places that we frequent. And recently, the Publix has moved in on the other end of E.E. Williamson. That's a real benefit. My business is located in Longwood, next door to the post office, and I come home via Rangeline Road. And recently, I could not make the left onto E.E. Williamson because traffic was backed up from Woodlands Elementary, which is over half the distance, to this school. And so I'm not going to reiterate traffic in any large degree, but I will tell you that I contacted the engineering department for the Seminole County, and I got a response from a Michael Blinn, who is with the Seminole County Traffic Engineering and Public Works Department. He gave me the traffic reports, which I'd like to submit to the county. These were done within the last 6 months for Markham Woods Road and E.E. Williamson, and also for Rangeline Road and E.E. Williamson. And they show on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that they did this report an average of 18,918 vehicles at the intersection of Rangeline and E.E. Williamson, and then an average of 19,879 vehicles daily at E.E. Williamson and Markham Woods Road. So you wanted facts. These are the facts for small, single-lane residential roads. And when I turn on to E.E. Williamson, I'm within 100 feet of the intersection of Markham Woods Road. So I just can't get out when it's busy. And neither can the neighbors to the left and the right of me. And so I'll stop talking about traffic because obviously it's an issue. I will also say this, I'm in favor of development. I think it's important to the county that we develop our properties, that we develop them responsibly. And I think there are a lot of types of businesses that can be within a residential community and bring great value to that community, be it doctors, lawyers, accounting agencies, dentists. There are so many types of businesses that it is appropriate to develop. and yet the traffic, of course, would be less with those businesses. The fact that the school will have start and stop times of classes similar to a school creates more of a dilemma as well. We talk about, Mr. DeLauro, you talk about life safety. You're concerned about life safety at the port, which is important, of course. We have many
Mr. Smart,
first
your
responders.
time's expired. Wrap it up real quick. Your time's up.
Life safety is an issue, and that trail is going to create an issue. Thank you very much.
Next, please.
Hi, my name is Laura Clem. At 120 Parsons Road in Longwood. I'm about half a mile from this section. I have been there. My family has owned that property since 1980. The only time I was away from then was when I was in the Army. Back there, I have gone to school here at Rock Lake Middle and Lake Mary High School, and my kids have gone to Woodlands Elementary and Markham Middle and Lake Mary High School. And I've also taught at Woodlands Elementary. So I know what the commute is like, and I know we aren't supposed to talk about traffic, but I do want you to look at the fact that once you vacate this section of road, which does nicely connect to our trail, I believe, in that area, could be used for county purposes instead of something that's public good, instead of allowing use in an area that is not appropriate. If you also will notice, if you see that picture, trees. We have a lot of trees which help mitigate some of the noise coming off of I-4, which I never used to hear at my house, but I do now. And so once you take away that little plot that's owned by the county, that opens it to development and knocking down trees and allowing more noise to us in the residency. My understanding, as long as I've lived there, and I have several acres, I used to ride my horse all over the area. Can't really do that anymore, but at least we have homes on 1 acre because we're in the watershed to Wekiva River. So if you're not familiar with that area, right in front of this property facing E.E. Williamson used to be the Sheridan Pool, which is where Lake Mary High School used to have their swim meets. Back then, there was a golf course across the way. All the roads leading into Markham were dirt. And that traffic wasn't a problem at that time because that was the kind of low-use road, not that many people coming in and out. We also had a gym which turned into a daycare after school, but we've never had anything that required a lot of vehicles in that space. There's a veterinary's office. You might see 5 cars out front at a time. So I really would like the county to look at this and say, is this for the good of the people that live in this area? And I think the answer is no. So that's all.
Thank you. All right, next 3 speakers, please.
David Thompson,
Thompson,
Leslie Grubble, and Verdell Rice.
and Rice. If 3 of you all would come on down and get ready. Looks like we only have 2. Call 3 more.
The last one that we called previously was Maria Thompson.
Thompson? We have a Maria Thompson? No Maria Thompson present. Okay, if you just note that. Yes, ma'am, come on down, please.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. I appreciate your time. I'm Leslie Grubel. I'm from 1841 Misty Morn Place, Longwood, Florida. And I would just say I'm going to relinquish my time, but I want to say that I agree with everything that's been said here. I do live in the area, and I would like to have the respect of our community. I appreciate the Markham Woods Association particularly and their comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Grubel. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
My name's Verdell Lambert Rice, and I own the property 840 Fern Drive. I just wanted to say that I also object. I agree with everything everyone has said here. Something else I wanted to bring up, we're talking about that this is a limited space, but it does lead into other things, and you cannot unring that bell once that's open. We haven't talked about the environmental impact. Like we talked about the trees. Right now, I can say we do not have flooding. We do not have those issues. But when you start opening things up like that, we can't unring that bell. The other issue that I wanted to talk about is, I know we all talked about traffic. I'm not going to talk about that. But let's talk about how that impacts the value of our homes when we have all this traffic. One of the beautiful things about that community and why I bought it is the peace. It's quiet, there are trees, there's open spaces where you can get to know your neighbors. But guess what? If you needed a break, you can do that too. When you have all these individuals coming in like that, it changes the environment. This is our home. We made this investment because we believe in Seminole County. We trust what you all do, and we ask that you consider us, please, and do not allow this to happen. Because once it happens, then whatever else happens, we have no control over it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dominique, any additional speakers?
No, sir.
All right, we will close public comment at this time. We will go to the applicant if they desire to make any rebuttal comments. And by the way, thank you all very much for your cooperation. We got through that pretty seamlessly. I think the message was heard loud and clear by the commission, and we sincerely do appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. And I want to iterate, too, that I appreciate the citizens coming out today to share their opinions, and I've listened to it all. I've taken copious notes, and I will be taking that back to my client. But I do want to reiterate, as you have pointed out, you have a very, very narrow issue in front of you today, and that is the right-of-way vacation. And there really isn't any valid county interest in maintaining that right-of-way. It's right-of-way that doesn't provide access to anybody. We're going to take care of Sunshine Water. They do have a water line in the western edge of the property, but if they don't have an easement to be there, we're going to give them an easement in the after the right-of-way is vacated, hopefully. And I want to point out that no matter what use that property is put, that right-of-way needs to be vacated. Whatever goes in there, the right-of-way is an impediment to anybody's use of that particular property. Do you have any additional questions for me that I can answer at this point? We meet the requirements of the code and the statute. Your staff has recommended approval. We would request your approval today.
Any inquiries of the applicant? Commissioner Constantine?
Yes, ma'am. Is there any reason that you have to have the vacay today? Nothing would stop you. Now, we know that goes right between the middle of your property on the north and the south. Why, why do you, or not that why do you want it, because I understand why you want the vacay now, but the question is, would that have any impediment to you bringing forth your plan of redevelopment for that property, that property would not be given to you today? In other words, simultaneously, we could give you a vacay as you come in and ask for a redevelopment if we felt that it was a good redevelopment and a good change of zoning, because you will have to ask, as you know, for a change of comp plan, because the comp plan, I believe, today is suburban estates for that property. So you're going to have to ask for a comp plan. You're going to have to ask for a zoning. You're going to have to show what your development is. You have put in a pre-app, which you withdrew, but the pre-app before was for 40,000, two-story. But is there any reason that you have to have the vacay prior to you coming in and asking for the change of zoning and showing what you plan to do on that property?
I think there's a two-part answer to that question, Commissioner. And the first part is it was a matter of timing. I don't know that my clients are certain when they want to proceed with the development of the project. The next, and we didn't withdraw our pre-app. We had a pre-app meeting with the staff. The advice we got from the staff is that we don't need a comp plan amendment. We either have to do a PD rezone or a special exception. Educational facilities are permitted under suburban estates. But either way, we would have to come in with a site plan, a PD rezone or a special exception. And we would like to develop the site plan knowing that the right-of-way is vacated. I mean, it's right in the middle of the property. So We didn't do it all at once because I'm not sure the clients really wanted to do it that way. I'm not sure what their timing is. They directed me to go ahead and get the right-of-way vacated. It's generally a pretty perfunctory exercise when the right-of-way is not needed, it's not used, it's not open, it's not improved. It doesn't provide access to anyone. And generally, these are perfunctory applications.
Mr. Chairman?
Any other inquiries? Commissioner Delory?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Slovic. If you'll just hang tight in case there's any other inquiries. Staff?
Annie, can you come to the
Annie,
podium?
if you'll come up.
In looking at the sketch and the description that's in our packet, I see the Seminole Wekiva Trail.
Yes.
I see a utility easement to the, I guess that would be the east of it, and then I see this property. But the cul-de-sac bisects the utility easement. Once we vacate it, the utility easement will be cut. Can you tell me why we didn't leave the utility easement in whole?
Chairman,
Ms.
I think I'm probably better to answer that question, if I may.
I think that would be appropriate.
Right,
Yes.
so the utility easement that's shown on the sketch is done by a separate OR book and page. And so this is vacating the portion of Tula Avenue as it is on the plat. It won't vacate another easement that was put in place by a separate document. It only releases whatever interest that the county has within that right-of-way.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then,
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Borgert. It's not quite accurate. The easement that was given both to the utility provider on the east side and the utility provider on the west side is a lot description. And so it did not include, the legal description of that easement does not include any area within the right-of-way. It's specifically, this is a platted subdivision? Maybe the survey. But the water company does not have any right to be in the right-of-way now. Their legal description is all the way around it. So, which is, yes, it's interesting. I see Ms.
Well,
But we have agreed to give, but there is Sunshine Water does have a water line that runs down the western edge. And so there is a water line in the right-of-way, but they don't have an easement to be there. But we're going to give them one. I've already negotiated that with Sunshine. So actually, they're going to be in a better position when this is done, because they will actually have an easement to be in that little section of the right-of-way that they don't have an easement right to be in now. Does that?
that answers my question.
That was my understanding when I reviewed the plats.
Yes.
Right?
I have another question for staff, if I may.
Ms. Silloway?
So Annie, when we looked at this, you spoke to all the different departments. Has Leisure Service looked at this to see if we need any more access to our Cross Seminole Trail?
Yes, sir. I did reach out to the Natural Lands Department, and I did enclose the email from Natural Lands stating that it would not encroach or affect the Seminole Kiowa Trail.
Well, I understand that, but do we ever need additional access to the trail?
No, not from my understanding, no.
Okay.
But it would be up to, at the time of development, which has no reference here at the time of vacate as far as what the applicant would be requesting for access. Is that where you were going with your question?
No, my question is clearly, does Leisure Services, when we do work on the trail, do we need additional access in the future to the trail? That is my question.
Bill Hendo
Said no.
You know, I can find out further.
I'll try to bring that in for a landing.
Okay.
I personally believe, regardless of what Leisure Services needs or doesn't need as far as access to the trail, I believe it is a viable option for supportive services to Leisure Services for something in the future, whether it be bicycle parking, whether it be the community to gather, whatever it might be, could have a ancillary benefit.
Mr. Chairman, that's the point I'm trying to make.
That's what I thought. I didn't mean to take that from you, but...
You are the chair, you have the right.
I just was trying to get there. And likewise, You want to give us a little bit of history and the background of this right-of-way, why you're there?
Yes. So Tula Avenue was part of the Des Panera Acres plat that was recorded in 1952. And around 1958 is when the construction of Interstate 4 happened. So when they built Interstate 4, they cut right through Tula Avenue and left this remaining cul-de-sac, a portion of right-of-way that leads to nowhere, will never be paved, or will never, be used. So.
For roadway?
For roadway, correct.
Right.
So that is why the application for request to vacate we are presenting today is because it leads to nowhere.
And Mr. Chairman, and as a follow-up, we have several trails, a lot of trails around this county. We're always looking at expanding them. We're always looking at different aspects of it to provide additional assets to it. And this is a right-of-way that this county could use in the future for that trail and for the amenities of the community. I just want to make sure that our staff has looked at every possible aspect of this right-of-way to make sure that our county in the future cannot use this or doesn't need to use it for access to the trail. That's what I'm asking, and I've not heard that yet.
I don't think access to the trail is
No.
what our people were considering, and I think the answer was they don't believe they need that for that. But we'll ask Leisure Services if they want to come down and address Commissioner Delari's inquiry as far as access to a trail.
Out here.
That was a general call out to them.
Okay, well, I think I know the answer to that based on what we've heard thus far, but I don't want to speak further on their behalf. Ms. Hammock?
Sure. Good afternoon. For the record, Development Services, Rebecca Hammock, Development Services Director. So as Annie stated, we did reach out to Leisure Services, Bill Pandos, and he did state that they have no objection to the easement being vacated. I don't know if specifically he looked at anything related to future access to the trail. But what we have done in the past when there are proposed PDs on the trail is we've required the PD to provide a trailhead or access to the trail. So that is an option for the board to consider if the PD does move forward. But with regards to the vacate itself, it is, when the applications do come in, it goes through our Development Review Committee process, and it is distributed to the different departments for review. It's mostly a Public Works review, and then we process the application through the Board of County Commissioners.
Understood. And I think, and again, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Delary, but I think his inquiry is what questions were asked, meaning, is this of any benefit to access the trail, or is this a different question, which is this a benefit for some ancillary use at some future time for the community to access the trail or as ancillary support for the trail? And none of us, I think, are going to know that question and how it was asked. I think my observation is the way these go, Commissioner Lockhart, I'll be right with you, the way these typically go is it's sent out to our folks.
Right there.
They look at it.
Yeah.
They mull it over and make a decision whether they need it for drainage, whether they need it for a roadway, whether they need it for some utility purpose or infrastructure. I don't know that we get that deep of a dive, with those parks and recreation type assets.
Correct. So the question that was posed to Bill was, do you have an issue with the right-of-way vacate since it touches the Seminole-Wekiva Trail? And that's as specific as the question was.
Yeah. And I was just advised that our director is at the state conference for recreation.
Oh, getting an award.
Yes, so Commissioner Herr had her hand up first, then Commissioner Lockhart.
No, I was just going to read what Rebecca just read
Oh, okay, so you're good?
for now.
Okay. Commissioner Herr.
I would just tell you that I don't know that I necessarily, this isn't going to sound right, care what the staff said about that very nebulous question to the,
Agreed.
The issue from my perspective is that this right now is, in essence, a county asset, which is in essence a citizen's asset, and it touches the trail, which is another citizen's asset. The bigger issue is there is really no real reason for us to do this today.
That's correct.
It cuts the property in half, and the reality of it is that it could happen at a later date should the rest of it move forward. And I'm not saying it will or it won't, but there are a lot of reasons why it would be wise for the applicant to start breaking the pieces apart so that the steps start happening to facilitate the end goal. And the end goal is questionable at best. So I would just say we can nickel and dime over the touching the trail or not touching the trail. The bigger picture is, why are we here today? And let's just call it like it is.
Okay, Commissioner Constantine.
I am ready,
you-
Mr. Chairman.
You ready to make a motion, sir?
I am.
Please
I
do.
am. Well,
Ma'am?
ma'am, you've had plenty of time.
You've had your
Answer all the
rebuttal.
I was
questions.
just going to suggest that we continue it.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
I think we get to vote on that.
Yeah, I have a
Is the
motion.
district commissioner willing to consider a continuance?
I think that when and if they ever come back to look at this property and want to put the two sides of the north and the south together, we can consider it then. So I don't want to continue it.
Understood.
Indulge, a vacate is a functionary, as you have said, Ms. Solik, and therefore we can consider it when we see what you want to do with the property, and therefore I move to deny the
Second.
request.
We have a motion, second, Ms. Solik. We appreciate it. Looks like your answer is there. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Herr.
I'm just going to go down the path. I know this is possibly going to frustrate you, but it's almost not fair to you not to give you some true feelings here. We have not interacted before on this issue. This does not belong in this neighborhood.
Yep.
This idea is a bad one, and I will tell you that you guys were pretty gracious about the impact to the neighborhood, but the fact of the matter is it just, we can't accommodate it in what's been talked about today, which may or may not be accurate. I am just giving you my true. This is Commissioner Constantine's district. It is my neighborhood. I travel these roads every single day, and the thought of what I hear is being proposed is probably not going to fly.
Well, and
Just sharing my thoughts.
And that, my comments are going to be somewhat similar, which is, I'll just be forthright to you. I'm never going to support vacating this for all the obvious reasons that I've already stated. Secondarily, in regards to the public and where we find ourselves today, and I want to be, I truly want to have an honest conversation with the public. As a native to Florida, I can remember when your homes were not there and I could ride my horse all the way through there. I can't do that anymore. Now, here we are, 40-some years later, 50-some years later, ironically, with the people who now live there complaining about what somebody wants to do today. There were plenty of us complaining then that we wanted no houses built there. So from the standpoint of traffic, and this is my piece of paradise, I get all that, I truly do. But we do have to fully understand, at the end of the day, who has the say on what happens with someone's property? Is it the people that started this county back in the early 1900s? Is it the people that moved here last week, last month, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, or the people that are going to come here 10 years from now? So I hear these, and I do truly get it, but at the end of the day, we do have to understand for our fellow man that people do have property rights. They do have the ability and the right to develop their properties within the context of the comp plan, future land development, and it's always an emotional thing. And so many times it's the last person who ever develops in the area that takes all the heat from 5 generations of people that have developed and, in some people's minds, spoiled the land because they built a house on it. So I just want to point that out. But honestly, I could never support this. I think it's an ancillary piece that our Parks and Recreation really need to be taking a hard look at. And the problem is, once the county forfeits a track, then guess what? We'll either never get it back, or it's going to be so costly to the taxpayers to replace some asset that we would want to use for ancillary purpose for Parks and Recreation. It doesn't make sense. So with
Mr.
that said,
Chairman, the last word, because, I've heard that speech before, and I love it. But at the same time, let's remember something. I've lived here for over 60 years also, and the fact of the matter is that this would need either a special exemption or a rezone. So private property rights doesn't come into play here as much as it would if it was already zoned and it could be done and everything else. This is completely different aspect to this community. We all live and drive and, work along Markham Woods Road, and it's the wrong place, and, that's why I've moved to make sure that it does not happen.
so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, it's denied.
Mr. Chairman, could we take a 5-minute recess, please?
Sure, let's take a 5-minute recess. We're ready to move forward. Our next item up this afternoon is item 56, MM Lord's first addition to Citrus Heights right-of-way vacate, item 2024-1018. This will be put on by Caitlin Apgar. Caitlin, welcome. You've got the floor.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Apgar, Planning and Development Services. If I can figure this out. Okay with it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Hazing.
Take the batteries out.
Right.
Give it to me. This is a request to vacate an uncut portion of an unnamed public right-of-way as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 87 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida, for a property more particularly known as 4369 Francis Avenue, Sanford, Florida. Applicants Kimberly Frank and Linda Van Marter have petitioned the county to vacate and abandon the platted, unconstructed portion of unnamed right-of-way lying between Lot 28 of MM Lord's first addition to Citrus Heights subdivision and Lot 6 of Rector's revision of a part of MM Lord's first addition to Citrus Heights subdivision. Applicant Kimberly Frank owns Lot 28 of MM Lord's first addition to Citrus Heights subdivision. Therefore, the southern half of the subject area to be vacated that is abutting the northern property line of Lot 28 will be incorporated into Lot 28. Applicant Linda Van Marter owns Lot 6 of Rector's revision of a part of MM Lord's first addition to Citrus Heights subdivision. Therefore, the remaining portion of the vacate will be incorporated into Lot 6. The applicant has provided letters of no objection from all applicable utility companies, and Public Works has no objection to the requested vacate. This request complies with the requirements for vacating a right-of-way under Section 35.184 of the Seminole County Land Development Code and the authority of Sections 336.09 of the Florida statutes. Staff requests the board adopt the resolution vacating and abandoning an uncut portion of the unnamed right-of-way as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 87 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Apgar. Any questions or inquiries from the board? Seeing none, are the applicants here and wish to make any statements? If you do, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Kimberly Frank. My address is 1809 East Broadway Street, PMB 403 Oviedo, Florida 32765. I purchased the property as a rental and was shocked afterwards to find out that there was 20 feet going in between there. I have 2 grandbabies, one just born yesterday. My family lives in that home, and I'd love to see that road vacated because the neighbor had a fence already put in the back, so I had no idea there was a road there. And the next thing I'll be doing is coming and getting the whole neighborhood who's taken up the 15 feet of alley all between both streets. They put their fence on the alley. So when I got my survey, I found out that the fence that's already up on my property is in an alleyway. So I'm going to construct it properly and then come back with the alley to be requested to be vacated since everybody has their fence in the alley. And I wouldn't have bought a house knowing that there was a 20-foot road in between when I got a 2-year-old grandbaby and a brand-new baby going to be right there. So I'd appreciate it if you would approve it so I can go see my grandbaby. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public to make comment?
No, sir.
All right, we'll close public comment. Any inquiries from the board?
Have your neighbors brought cookies to you yet?
I don't live there, so I don't know, but they're at the hospital. They're coming home. They pick them out.
This is my district, so I will move to adopt the resolution vacating and abandoning an uncut portion of unnamed public right-of-way as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 87 of the Public Records of Seminole County, Florida, for property more particularly known as 4369 Francis Avenue, Sanford, Florida.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item up is legislative public hearings. This is going to be item number 57, purchasing policy update concerning an ordinance amending Chapter 220 of the Seminole County Code of Ordinances. Item 2024-1127. This will be presented by not Lori Bailey Brown. Steve Koontz.
Yes.
Steve, why would they put Lori Bailey Brown's name here?
She's the department director.
Oh, I know she's the chair, but
Yeah, she's a director, so,
she puts you in a hot seat.
yeah, I'm in the hot seat.
I get it. Very good, sir. Move forward.
All right, good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Steve Koontz, Purchasing and Contracts Division Manager. And we are here to talk about the purchasing ordinance and the purchasing admin code. So what's being brought before you to consider is essentially repealing Chapter 220, the purchasing ordinance, and adopting a new Chapter 220. And then the resolution is essentially got three pieces to it. You'll be adopting a new admin code for purchasing and moving a couple of key pieces from the purchasing admin code to the Parks and Recreation and to community services. So I'm going to just have a short presentation to go through this. So a little background. Again, we started this process back in July 2021, taking 3 documents and condensing them down into 2. So essentially what we'll have moving forward is a purchasing ordinance and a purchasing admin code or purchasing policy. There will not be a county manager's policy moving forward. We went through a number of iterations, drafts, met with the commissioners, and there was a board work session last month. So with the purchasing policy itself, we'll go through this real quick. So again, we're taking Chapter 220 and adopting a new Chapter 220. We're taking the administrative code, Section 3.55. Essentially, it is a complete rewrite of the policy. It's got the update to the purchasing thresholds and approvals that we talked about previously. It's got specific approvals for Parks and Recreation and Community Services that are moving to their respective divisions coming out of the admin code for purchasing policy. We did do some updates since the work session. We updated the evaluation committee employees with, I'll just give you a little bit on the update. Basically, it includes employees with operational experience or subject matter experts, defined as county employees with qualifications in a particular field or work process. We also clarified attractive items to make sure that it's understood that we're talking about electronics and generators, things that are referenced in the Florida Admin Code. For the next 2 sections, we didn't necessarily talk about them in detail at the work session, but you can see that Section 28.45 of the County Admin Code, we're relocating some approvals from 3.55 to 28.45, which is Parks and Recreation. There are no other substantive changes to approval authority, but this is for essentially contracts, program instructors, sports management, and program entertainment. It will also update the name of the department throughout the Section 28. For community services, it is a little more substantive with the approvals. What's going on is we're moving some of those things from 3.55 to 12.1, which is community services. We are updating the thresholds and approvals similar to what is in the purchasing policy. The Director of Community Services will have similar authority as the purchasing manager, up to $100,000. For the county manager, it'll be up to $250,000. And these changes pertain to all federal and state grant programs administered by the Community Services Department. And the last thing on here is requires an annual NSP and home reports instead of monthly. So with that, those are the 3 changes that are part of the resolution. And again, the public hearing is to update the ordinance, Chapter 220. So what's being asked, what the requested action is, approve the ordinance that repeals Seminole County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 220 in its entirety, adopts a new Chapter 220, again, the purchasing ordinance. And in the resolution, it's got 3 sections to it. Approve resolution that repeals Seminole County Administrative Code, Section 3.55 in its entirety, and adopts a new Section 3.55. And creates new sections 28.45, Parks and Recreation Approval Authority, and 12.1 Community Services Approval Authority. And with that, any questions?
Any questions for staff at this point? Seeing none, is there anyone here from the public to speak on this matter, Dominique?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and move for board action. Commissioners? Commissioner Herr.
Chairman, I'm going to make two motions, vote on them separately so that we do this appropriately. Move to approve the ordinance that repeals Seminole County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 220, in its entirety and adopts a new Chapter 220 purchasing ordinance.
Now let's handle that one separate.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Nay. Okay. We have 4-1. Second motion.
Second motion is I move to approve the resolution that repeals Seminole County Administrative Code Section 3.55 in its entirety and adopts a new Section 3.55, Purchasing Policy, which creates new Sections 28.45, Parks and Recreation Approval Authority, and 12.1, Community Services Approval Authority.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Nay. 4-1. Thank you very much, Mr. Koontz. We sincerely appreciate it. Ms. Brown, we appreciate all your hard work that you and staff have put into this. Next item up is item 58, non-ad valorem assessment roll. Item 2024-1004. Tamika Morton will be presenting this item.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tamika.
Good afternoon, Tamika Morton, MSB program. This public hearing is to provide an opportunity for public input prior to the board adopting and certifying the consolidated non-ad valorem assessment roll for the tax year 2024. The assessment roll is a listing by parcel identification number of assessments levied to fund public services that are offered through the MSBU program. The public services that we offer does include street lighting, residential solid waste, lake management, as well as some capital funded projects. Typically, these services are provided in response to the property owner's requests. The 2024 non-ad valorem tax roll includes annual variable assessment rates and capital assessment installment billings, which are associated with all active MSBUs. The assessment rates for the 2024, the variable rates, those were adopted via the resolution that the board approved on June 11, 2024. As required by Florida statute, both published and mailed notice for this hearing were issued. The assessment roll presented today reflects the data that was mailed to property owners via the non-ad valorem assessment notice, which was sent out on July 15th, 2024. The final roll to be submitted to the tax collector has to be done by September 15th for inclusion in the 2024 property tax bill, which will include some minor updates to accommodate for property record changes, as well as residential solid waste service option changes. Following public input, it is requested that the board approve the resolution adopting the 2024 non-ad valorem assessment roll and certify the tax roll to the Seminole County tax collector. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Morton. Any inquiries to Ms. Morton? Seeing none, is there anybody here from the public to speak on this matter? Ms. Dominique? Is that a no?
She's just not hearing you.
Dominique, anyone here from the public to speak on this matter?
No, sir.
Very well, then we will close the public hearing and move for board action. Okay, commissioners?
Motion to adopt the non-ad valorem assessment roll as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Morton.
Have a good day.
You as well. Next item up is item 59. This is satisfaction release of liens, amending Chapter 40, Building and Construction, Chapter 53, Chapter 95, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 168, Nuisances, and Chapter 250, Traffic of the Seminole County Code of Ordinances, and creation of a new subsection 3.20C in the Seminole County Administrative Code, provide new administrative process for release of code enforcement liens when paid in full. countywide. Ms. Rebecca Hammack will present item 2024-1058. Ms. Hammack?
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, Rebecca Hammack, Development Services Director. As the Chairman stated, item 59 is a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 40, Building and Construction, Chapter 53, Code Enforcement, Chapter 95, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 168, Nuisances, and Chapter 250, Traffic of the Seminole County Code of Ordinances, and a proposed resolution creating subsection 3.20C in the Seminole County Administrative Code to provide a new administrative process for release of code enforcement liens when paid in full. Code enforcement liens run in favor of the Board of County Commissioners. Currently, all satisfactions of code enforcement liens are approved by the Board of County Commissioners, thus requiring preparation of an agenda item for the Board of County Commissioners' consent agenda. The proposed ordinance and resolution will allow the county manager or designee to execute a satisfaction or release of lien if the original violation is remedied and the total amount due on the lien is paid in full. The administrative process put forth in the proposed ordinance and resolution is a more efficient and cost-effective process for both the county and property owners. The proposed process will help reduce timeframes for real estate transactions and produce a cost savings to the county. Since the agenda was published, changes have been made to the various sections of the proposed ordinance and resolution to create consistent language in both regarding what constitutes payment in full. The language that was changed reads, when recorded code enforcement liens are complied and paid in full, including all applicable costs, interest, administrative expenses, and attorney's fees. At the conclusion of my presentation, the Deputy County Attorney can also add to that explanation of the proposed changes. With that, staff requests the board approve the revised ordinance amending Chapter 40, Building and Construction, Chapter 53, Code Enforcement, Chapter 95, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 168, Nuisances, and Chapter 250, Traffic of the Seminole County Code of Ordinances, and the revised resolution creating subsection 3.20C in the Seminole County Administrative Code to provide a new administrative process for release of code enforcement liens when paid in full. And staff recommends approval of the revised ordinance and the revised resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Hammack. Any inquiries of Ms. Hammack on this matter? Seeing none, do we have any public comment forms, Ms. Dominique?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we will close the public input and move to board action. Commissioner Herr?
First of all, I'd like to thank staff for including, I was the reason for the clarification of the language, just because it could be read differently the way it was written, and I didn't want us to be debating that in the future, so the clarification is perfect. I move to approve the ordinance amending Chapter 40, Building and Construction, Chapter 53, Code Enforcement, Chapter 95, Health and Sanitation, Chapter 168, Nuisances, and Chapter 250, Traffic of the Seminole County Code of Ordinances, and the resolution creating subsection 3.20C in the Seminole County Administrative Code to provide a new administrative process for release of code enforcement liens when they are fully complied with and paid in full.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion?
Just, Chairman, just a clarification, that's with the revised language, correct?
With the revised
motion?
language, yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hammack. Thank your staff for all the work you all put into this, as well as tolerating all of our inquiries for all 5 of our offices. All right, next up, County Attorney's Report.
Hello, Nasa Borkert, Deputy County Attorney. I don't have anything to report other than we do have a new attorney in our office. Her name is Cassidy Perdue. She's sitting right over here. Cassidy's waiting.
Welcome.
Welcome.
She comes to us from the state of Florida, from Tallahassee, and we're very much excited to have her here. She has a wealth of knowledge in litigation, and I just wanted to introduce her to everybody.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. All right. County Manager's Report.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that was so easy.
It was so easy.
All right. We will move into the District Commissioners' reports. First up is Commissioner Herr, as well as, I'm told you have some board appointments. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to do that first?
Either way you want to handle it. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have that wrong.
You do not have that wrong. although I feel as though I may have surprised you with it, so let's just acknowledge that.
No,
I'll start
haven't.
by moving to appoint Donnie Casey to the SCIDA Board to fulfill an existing term expiring 12/31/2026, and to send a letter of appreciation for SCIDA Board, for service on the SCIDA Board to Tracy Wallace.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Carries unanimous. Continue, Commissioner Herr.
Attended the State of Our Schools, hosted by the Seminole County Chamber. This is the first year that it was done in partnership with the Chamber, and it was facilitated through coordination between one of the Chamber's Board of Directors that I'm exceptionally close with. And we had a turnout of twice as many folks, and folks that are outside of the normal school district circle. So I was really, really pleased for both organizations to start to spread the good word beyond the normal circle for the school district. I did do the Orlando Health Hard Hat Tour, and that is going to be an amazing facility. If you haven't done it, I would recommend that you do it. I did speak at the Business Connections Networking Breakfast at the Sanford Chamber of Commerce. Always an interesting crew, always challenging questions, and it was delightful, so I appreciate the invitation. I also spoke at the Crew Luncheon, which is the Commercial Real Estate Executive Women, and it's all of the associated individuals, and that was a collaboration between Seminole County, Lake County, and Osceola County, speaking mostly to Orange County businesses. It was a really nicely done environment. Want to point out that I know we've talked several times about the Rescue Outreach Mission event, the Fishbones event, and the total raise for that exceeded all of our expectations. It was $47,000. And so it was really amazing. And I would also like to call to your attention, and I believe it was passed out, so correct me if I'm wrong, that there was a Seminole County Library Advisory Board that was asking that we consider improvements to the Seminole County website. And we have shared that with the team, and the team is amenable to doing it. We have been talking about this for a very long time. I know the website is under development, but I just want to put it on the record because that advisory board has worked really hard and brought forth a lot of suggestions, and it is in play now, but it's taken a long time. And then I am going to end my discussion with the fact I'm really excited that I got to go first this time, just so I can say, Lake Mary Little League! I don't know about you all, but we were 100% consumed watching this all weekend long and literally feeling like I parented those children. Thank God I didn't parent all those children. But I will tell you this, the most wonderful part of that win was not the win. I know the kids aren't going to think that, but it was not the win. It was the fact that the coach and our kids consoled the losing team.
Yep.
I get all choked up about it because that doesn't happen today.
Nope.
It doesn't happen in sports. It's good parenting, it's good community, it's good coaching, and it was heartwarming to see.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Done, because I can't talk anymore.
Have a chocolate, it'll comfort you.
Listen, I couldn't make the last motion because I had a milk dud in my mouth. That's why I was laughing.
Commissioner Delarey, you have some board appointments.
No, I don't, not today.
Okay, well, that part's wrong. Okay, go ahead, your report.
But thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Herr, I do agree with you. Congratulations to Lake Mary Little League. It was quite an event over the last 2 weeks to actually see a majority of the games. I watched many of them, and to see those young men play was just very it was just amazing. I mean, to put words to it, you really can't.
Yep.
And so I definitely congratulate them. I also want to congratulate another young man from the city of Oviedo, Amari Jones. Amari Jones won a bronze medal in the Olympics for boxing. His weight class was 158. To see that young man, we had a send-off for him at Round Lake Park back in early June, I think it was, before he went over to France, to talk to him and to see how his well-mannered disposition is just amazing. But when you see him get in the ring, it's a totally different individual. And my hat's off to him and congratulate him on his hard, long journey, and it's quite an accomplishment to get a bronze medal in the Olympics, so congratulations, Amari Jones. Also, Mr. Chairman, I know that many of us have been following Sunshine Utilities.
Yes.
They have an issue that they're addressing. They had a number of spills. There's a consent order that they have to spend. A number of fines that they have is about somewhere around $1.2 million. And
Correct.
to opt not to pay that, they're going to do some improvements in the district.
Understood.
They're going to be doing septic to sewer in the neighborhood, and I compliment them for doing that, as well as DEP for allowing them to do that. But I have also heard that, I don't know if it's a 104 fund or 109 fund, that they're going to be asking for DEP to pay for the connection fees. That's taxpayers' money. I think that we have no jurisdiction over it, but we should encourage DEP that since it is a punitive that they're trying to fix, they shouldn't be asking for federal or state money to do that or to aid them. They should be paying the whole thing. And I'd like to see what the direction is, what our options are to encourage DEP that when you go into septic to sewer in that area, that Sunshine should pay the whole thing and not use DEP money to offset some of the connection costs. They should be paying all the connection costs as well. I'd like to ask our attorney, as well as Kim Wamberg, what our options could be.
That's something you all can look into and get with Commissioner Delary when you've had an opportunity to look into that. Is that okay, Commissioner?
That's fine. I just think that since it's a fine and that they're mitigating, they should be paying for the whole thing.
Yeah, quite frankly, my meeting with the CEO and his new introduction, I'm still waiting for the list of grandiose things that he indicated to me that they were undertaking, along with all the projects they were undertaking.
Well,
were
and that's,
fine, so
Mr. Chairman, that's another thing.
I can't speak to that.
And Mr. Chairman, that's another thing, because of all these issues that have been taking place. I know they have to fix them, but I don't see a timetable.
Sure.
And I think that's another concern. So I'd like to meet with our staff and get back to the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
If there's no objection to that.
No objection.
Okay. And then we have Labor Day coming up this next week, and I want to wish everyone a happy Labor Day, and I wish everyone, thank you very much for a great summer, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir.
Go Lake Mary.
Yay. Next up, Commissioner Constantine, District 3.
First of all, Commissioner Delary, whether they get money from a grant or not, I concur with you that they should still pay all the $1.6 million, which is what they have.
I understand that, and that's why I want.
I know, and that's why
There's a lot to
I'm agreeing with you. Also, I just wanted to say, so maybe they could do more in that project. Also, yeah, it is tough to go third this week because all of us were so proud of that team, and Commissioner Herr is correct. It wasn't just about the victory. It was about the way they conducted themselves, and especially at the end of that game, going up to the little boys from Taiwan and hugging them, and it just, it just gives you a great sense of joy that there are children like that in our community. And I need to tell you that also, there are a number of different youth baseball. Clearly, Little League is the most well-known, and it's so wonderful to watch them on ESPN. But also, Altamon's Baseball Academy, they won the 11 and under championship.
Cal Ripken.
And Cal Ripken, which is part of the Babe Ruth program. And so we're, for youth baseball, we are the center of the world right now, and that's just wonderful. And I just have to say that one other thing is we talked about, length of stay here at Seminole County. I am, and before any of you say that I was there, I was not. I was the graduate for the first class of the new Lyman. But this year, Lyman High School, which I am a graduate of, is celebrating its 100th year. And so I just
want... You weren't
there? No, I wasn't. I was there for the opening of the new Lyman, and I was the first graduating class.
He was the second class of Lyman.
And with that, there's a number of other things people have here today, but I just wanted to tell you just a lot of wonderful things to talk about here in Seminole County. And I believe we're also going to hear from a young man later on. Mr. Watts is here today getting his Eagle Scout with a pro, or trying to get his Eagle badge with a project that he's gotten. We're going to hear him later. So congratulations, young man. That's it.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lockhart, District 4.
All right. Well, what district report would it be without mentioning Lake Mary Little League? So what I will do is say congratulations, and everyone come out Saturday morning at 10 o'clock to downtown Lake Mary, 4th Street. We'll be having a parade. The city of Lake Mary is hosting it and coordinating it, but we would love to see everyone come out and support these kids. I don't know how many of you realize, but there are students on that team from Markham Woods Middle and Sanford Middle and Orangewood Christian. It's a team that's comprised of students from all over the area. So it's truly a coming together of the whole community, and we'd love to see everybody out there. I had an opportunity to do the tour of Teen Challenge in Sanford, as you mentioned a couple of meetings ago, Commissioner Herr. They will be having their annual banquet, I believe, in a couple of weeks down at the Orlando World Marriott, and the speaker is Tim Tebow. So as a diehard Seminole, I have given up my seat to someone else who might be more excited about hearing from Tim Tebow. But they're a wonderful organization, and was a fantastic tour. I also met with a couple of our firefighters and our team at Seminole State College, the Foundation for Seminole State College, talking about opportunities to put together a scholarship to help improve and increase the number of applicants coming through the program that are not typically in our ranks. We have a goal in this organization to have our fire force look more like the community they serve. And this scholarship would be an opportunity to help achieve that. And so many thanks to John Gillen and President Georgia Lorenz for their taking first steps and talking with these folks about what that might look like. I know that they've reached out and talked, I think, first steps with Darren Gray and Tricia Johnson about how we can collaborate together on that. Just Chris Baker and Marcus Gomes, two of our firefighters who have really stepped up and stepped into this space, much needed, and I'm very grateful to them for the time that they've taken on their own time to pursue this. So thank you, gentlemen, for that. So Patty puts my report together for me, and she's so good about, I just don't even know what this bullet means.
You're like I do, just skip it.
I think I'm going to skip it.
That's what I do.
I know. I'm supposed to know what this means.
Just sharing my practices with you.
She's gonna give me what for when I get back up there. Okay. Attended the new Sunrail station opening in DeLand. What an incredible turnout. Oh my gosh, that community is beyond ready to have that station there. Hundreds and hundreds of people, and we're keeping an eye on that ridership, and it's, it has dropped off a little bit. The new excitement has worn off just a little bit, but it's definitely, the community has really supported that and come out. As many of you know, a giant in our community, Zach Hudson, passed away recently. Mm-hmm. He had been with the Lake Mary Police Department and served in a variety of capacities in nonprofits, mostly supporting seniors, and he was had been with Orlando Health as well. And so his passing was very unexpected and a huge blow to this community and to his family. So sincere condolences to his family and to everyone who he impacted. Just a life well lived, for sure. Blaine Dara, in that same theme, those of you who knew Blaine Dara, another giant, former president of the Heathrow Master Association, HOA, and Legislative Affairs Chairman, and just every time you turned around, Blaine Dara was sitting in those seats, giving us advice and really genuinely being supportive of the work of this board and the community. And so to his wife, Pat, and their family, again, sincere condolences. He ended all of his emails with, "Keep smiling." And when he'd text, he would say, "Whatever, whatever, whatever," and keep smiling. Just such a great soul. His service will be an open house style Saturday, the 7th, from 1 to 5 at Oak Lawn Memorial on 46A, and I know his family would love if anyone who knows him and wants to come and share stories about him, that they would be very welcomed. Okay, so Lynx and Sunrail. Thank you so much for those appointments.
You're welcome. I figured someone else needed to get their tip their toes in the water on
Well,
those.
I'm starting to feel like I'm developing a reputation for being the person who will pull the pin in a grenade or something. Like, here, let's put Amy on this
Somebody has
committee.
to do
She'll
it.
pull the pin. So
Have you got their attention yet? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think maybe, I still have lots of questions, and our staff has done a tremendous job of digging in. All I do is ask the questions publicly and try and get answers, but our staff really has done a tremendous job of working toward getting details to help us better understand their operations and our obligations and what that means to the taxpayers of this community, because as you all know from our budget briefing, it's outrageous where we're looking at heading. So one of the things that I brought up most recently at this last board meeting is, and the two are so intricately intertwined, and I think that is a blessing and a curse.
Hence why I appointed you to both.
Yes. So, at the Lynx board meeting, we have discussions as the Lynx board, and there is a reasonable request on the part of the chairman to please keep Lynx board discussion to the Lynx board and bring up Commuter Rail Commission questions at the Commuter Rail Commission, but they are so intertwined that a vote at one impacts a vote on another, and perhaps we should at least be contemplating them. So I did get confirmation from the attorney, who's Pat Christensen, but Jim Goldsmith was filling in for him, that having those conversations is not in any way, shape a violation of sunshine. It just, whatever. So I did get that confirmed. There is an official working group for the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission that is made up of staff members, a technical advisory committee, and we have many staff members that attend and serve on that committee. And then there is an unofficial working group that is made up of the funding partners. And the conversations and the decisions that are happening at one don't necessarily trickle to the other, and they certainly do not necessarily come to the Commuter Rail Commission for contemplation. And so there's a lot of opportunity for improving cross-communication and sharing of practices and expectations. I'll give you an example. The Commuter Rail Commission gave direction to the working group to go back and look at the banking contract that was brought forward from the piggybacking of the Lynx contract. And we said, please go look at other potential contracts that could be piggybacked on, because they had not looked at any others. Well, whoever was made up in that working group talked to someone in their organization and came back and they said, we really can't look at any other contracts. That really has to be apples to oranges, and we really wanted, and so I was frustrated because I felt like the direction we had given was go find some other contracts. So my question was, who do we hold accountable? What during this 3-year-long transition process, as the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission, I know at Seminole County, if this board gives direction, I know I hold Darren Gray accountable.
Correct.
At the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission, I don't know who to hold accountable. And that's something that we need to figure out moving forward as our 5 separate entities, what our expectations are. There seems to be some additional holdups that we're finding out about for FTA funding, and Brajesh took off. He didn't know I was bringing this up, so it's not like he escaped intentionally, but we've learned that there are some boxes that need to be checked in order for the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission to be authorized to receive FTA funds, to be a direct recipient of funds. Somehow that escaped everyone in this process moving forward. To get to that place, it's going to be at least 18 months to get through that process. So the idea that we will be able to financially fully accept responsibility and be paying the bills out of a CFCRC banking account by, in the next several months is that's off the table at this point. So there are just some things that are happening that we're finding out bits and pieces that there could be a potential delay in the intent. I expressed, if this board does not agree with me, I will go back and do a mea culpa, but I expressed that our expectation is that while we are currently looking at links as being the administrative organization that the CFCRC would contract with to operate Sunrail when this operation phasing gets done, that we aren't there yet, number one. And number two, just because Lynx does it doesn't mean the CFCRC is going to do it. There should not be a foregone conclusion that because Lynx has a particular contract, well then, for ease of efficiency or whatever, that the CFCRC would necessarily do it. We are two, even though we are the same people, except for Volusia, we are two very different entities. And so I'm trying to continue to express that publicly to my fellow CFCRC members who are also Lynx board members. And it's just, it's complex. We're going to have to step in and take up a little more of the oxygen in the room, I believe, to make sure that we're getting to the right place for this multi-billion-dollar adventure.
I don't disagree, and I always thought this was moving at a pace so rapidly towards the end of when FDOT was pushing this forward. As I looked at things, and with Lynx being the administrative, arm and running and doing this, that it was all moving too fast, and I suspected that there were a lot of things behind the scenes that had not been well thought out or considered. You're just confirming what I feared and what was my concern, and hopefully with FDOT involved, and we can get to the bottom of it and move forward. So, good, thank you. Commissioner DeLaurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Lockhart, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I've sat on that board before. It can be very frustrating, so it's not that I'm happy that you're there. I'm glad that someone else is experiencing.
He's happy he's not there.
That's one of them. But I think you're right, and I've expressed that same concern about Lynx. And I really think that we need to, as a region, see who is the best operator. It's not always going to the one that's the easiest one to go to that we know, which is Lynx. There are other operators out there, and when I was on that board, other people didn't want to hear it. And I expressed that. We talked about it here, and I truly, at this point, unless I'm proven otherwise, I don't think Lynx is the right operator for Sunrail because they have very limited experience when it comes to rail.
So right now, DOT manages Sunrail via contract. So if the idea is that we would just be transferring the administration of contracts from FDOT to another agency, perhaps Lynx, perhaps another agency, that doesn't sound that bad. That doesn't sound that difficult because you're administering contracts. That being said, I am a little concerned with some of the things that I have seen as a partner in Lynx with funding formulas and the lackadaisical responses on some things are just give me pause. And you know, you can't let contracts expire with the FTA, and you can't always do emergency procurement when you're dealing with federal funds. So it is a different animal, and I just want us to be very open and honest about the future. And you know, I'm sure I am not on many Christmas card lists right now, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But it's just, I think we should stop acting as though it's already a done deal.
And one more final note, there are other areas that have got other agencies. I know that Atlanta as well as Toronto has gone to Swiss Rail, and they're running their agencies. So there are other agencies out there. It's not just one in the world.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
As long as you all are okay with me still sitting there doing what I'm doing.
No, just keep doing what you're doing, and I would
You're
just
doing a great
ask that,
job.
All right.
I would just ask staff, keep the rest of the commission in the loop as things move forward, and let us know how things are going and what we need to weigh in or not weigh in on as a board. And anything we need to weigh in, bring it to the board, and we'll give direction to staff, which will give direction to our liaison. So we make sure that's moving in the right direction. And I honestly do believe both Lynx and Sunrail, and there's probably at least one other, it's long overdue for some tough and hard discussion of what's really going on. And like I've stated, I think a couple of minutes or a couple of meetings ago, which was, you know, we're a flea on a flea's butt on the back of a dog compared to the region. I mean, we just face the facts that we're not the gorilla in the room. But that does not mean we should be treated any less or any better than any of our partners. It needs to work seamlessly and equitably for all the partners. So,
Mr. Chairman, and then I'll be real quick. Commissioner Lockhart, I'm not saying this for your information, I'm saying it for the folks that may be watching, which is our funding partners. I respect your opinion, I expect the hard work that you're doing, and I will be taking your recommendations as you present them here. If they make sense, I will be supporting you. So they need to realize that, and when you speak for all of us. And I know you know that. They need to know that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to follow up on that, it is my understanding, and as you know, I was out for 2 weeks, so don't hold me to this, but the county manager is planning a work session with respect to Lynx and Sunrail in October.
In October, that's my understanding.
That will be a full board update.
Yeah. Great. Very good. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start with 2 board appointments on the Committee of Aging, and I'm going to incorporate District 2 and the Chairman's report all in one, as I typically do. I'd like to appoint Christy Bernard from Hospice End of Life Services for a term of 1/1/23 through 12/31/25, to continue that on. And Leslie Grubel, local senior resident, started in 1/1/24, continuing on till 12/31/26.
Second.
Motion second. Any conversation? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Like sign? Seeing none. Thank you to both Christy and Leslie for agreeing to continue to serve on those boards. We sincerely appreciate it. So the big news is I am a grandfather now for the 3rd time. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So Alexander James Bauer was born on Sunday. And James, just so you all know, is spelled Jaymes.
He's going to be explaining that his whole life.
Yeah, I know, but that was my daughter. So that's number 3, and it truly is a blessing. So we continue to follow those grandchildren. But back to county business. Unfortunately, I hate to announce that Big Daddy's Organic Farm is closing permanently in the Oviedo Black Hammock area. They have found it too costly to continue to farm organically and have their, organic products available to the public. It's really been a staple and an icon in that area for quite some time, and unfortunately, the cost of doing business and like farming around this entire country has come to the point where it's just not cost effective unless you've got the scaling of major corporate holdings to do tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of acres, which then of course is not necessarily organic type crops. So we're sad to hear that and understand that is unfortunately occurred. It was brought up, I think, just a little bit by the county manager last time, but I want to confirm the Yarborough Ranch purchase by the state is in fact finally inked. All things are done. The family will be out of there in short order, and all materials and ranching equipment has been removed from the property, so that's 1,276 acres more that have gone into conservation for the wildlife corridor. Good work by our staff, good work by my fellow commissioners, putting up with me being so persistent, and thank you to our governor and cabinet who ultimately decided to fund it and get this done for the betterment of future of our great state. Update on the Sanford Orlando Airport. Flight counts are now arriving above pre-pandemic levels and continue to grow. We also have some good news. There's going to be some additional destinations that are coming out this summer. It's going to be Las Vegas, Nevada, Rapid City, South Dakota, Key West, Florida, Provo, Utah, Niagara Falls, Toronto, Canadian side, and Little Rock, Arkansas. Operating income continues to increase. So those are destinations that were previously not served or were served and taken off and now back on. So those things are happening. I did have an opportunity to spend some time with Representative Susan Placencia for a town hall meeting on cost of homeowners insurance and what the legislature is doing, along with Mr. Bankston and several others, including Emergency Management Director, I can't remember his name, but anyway, from the state of Florida was there and told us what was going on with scaling back, and we are going to see cost decreases, and that there's now 11 providers in the state of Florida are actually requesting a rate reduction, which they believe is directly a result of the litigation measures that they passed statutory oversight with, so that litigation will not be happening to the level that it once did, which is good news. Let's see. Outside of that, I wanted to bring to the attention, of course, everybody knows I was sitting on the canvassing board for the last, several weeks. And I want to give Andrew Lanius a big shout out on behalf of the county commission and the citizens of this county, as being the legal representative for the canvassing board from the county side. And I will tell you, everybody interacted professionally, and everything went fairly well. There was a few things that we could argue may be done better or not as good, but all in all, everything turned out just fine. And this weekend will be the final verification of the equipment to make sure that everything was accurate. We did certify the official results of the elections last week, and all that came in as well. But I also wanted to bring, as many of you know, I wanted to bring to the board's attention this whole scenario that we've unfortunately come to understand that happened, I guess, a couple months ago, when the supervisor of elections, after being told once in writing by our county attorney that in order to do any modifications or construction to the building that we do not own and the county leases, turned around after receiving that letter, and unbeknownst to us until after it occurred, had actually contracted for another $80,000 worth of building renovation, which was immediately brought to the county attorney's attention, which the county attorney then wrote a letter to the supervisor of elections stating that it's a leased property, it's leased by the county, not the supervisor of elections, and the requirement of the lease requires it has to be approved by the county first, then it has to be approved by the owner of the property, which is the Sanford Orlando International Airport, who is the owner of the property, and that includes blueprints, plans, et cetera, and they have to sign off on any permitting to approve those repairs. Unfortunately, not knowing that, the clerk of the court had already cut a check for $15,000 to the contractor in advance without us knowing that, and I spoke to that contractor. That contractor does have a signed contract with the supervisor of elections, unbeknownst to us, which the county attorneys have been made aware of. In addition to that, we come to find out that the schedule to move forward was scheduled for this past Monday without approval from the Sanford Orlando International Airport. It will not be moving forward. My conversation with the contractor was to submit all bills to Darren Gray, our county manager, for review by him and our county attorneys, and it appears that the citizens owe another $8,000 to the contractor for work that's already been performed in the way of architectural review, civil engineering, design, et cetera. So the bottom line is the supervisor of election has spent approximately $23,000 of taxpayers' money without approval of the county, without approval of the airport, on a no-bid contract that was not permitted under the terms of the lease. So what I'm asking the board to support with the county attorney is, it's obviously the supervisor of elections, current sitting supervisor of election will not be reelected. Mr. Anderson lost the primary. And pursuant to Florida statutes 129, specifically 129.06.5, which dictates that the supervisor of election cannot expend more than 1/12 of his budgetary once he is deemed not to be reelected, as well as can no longer do non-line item transfers. In other words, he cannot transfer funds from one part of the budget to reallocate it for another part of the budget. And I would ask that the board support me asking the county attorney to engage that immediately and make sure none of that occurs, so that no further taxpayers' dollars will be expended for items that are unnecessary, unapproved, and inappropriate, as well as to discuss that with the clerk of the courts, who is the person who disperses the checks on behalf of the constitutional officers. So I'm asking for direction and support from the board to direct the county attorney and county manager's office to ensure to engage that, so no more money goes. And I realize $23,000 in the grand scheme of $1 billion budget may not seem a lot, but to me, it's a playground set for our kids at one of the parks that needs to be replaced. It's shade covers at the parks for some of our children. It's sidewalks somewhere that need to be done. It's any number of things, but if we don't get a hold of it, my fear is additional things are going to occur. So I'm asking for support to direct the county attorney and county manager's office to make sure that they dig into that. So my question is, do I have direction and support to ask them to do that and report back to us?
Short answer, yes, from my perspective. I think I read that same statute. Actually, Ms. Borkert and I were having a conversation, and she mentioned the statute, and I looked it up, and there's a caveat of without permission of the Board of County, or without direction of the Board of County Commissioners. So there would be a provision,
sure,
if there was something reasonable and necessary for the
correct,
operation of that office that could come to us, that we could allow that.
Right.
But absolutely, I think we're in a tedious place.
Right.
And there is a pattern of, not thinking the rules apply. And so, and frankly, it may be that the clerk of the court who holds the supervisor of elections checkbook doesn't know that that provision exists in statute. So we want to
Sure.
make sure that he understands that before any check is cut, that needs to be double-checked with county management and budget.
Right, and I'm not trying to interpret law, but I'm just asking the support to have our
Yeah.
legal team and our county management look at those. To me, the statute's pretty clear as to what it says.
It's
Are you familiar?
clear. I am, yeah. It is clear. I'll just make one correction there,
Okay.
that it's the date the candidate is no longer, up for reelection, or October 1, which,ever is later. So in this case, it'd be October 1 when it's implemented. Just, that's the only correction that I'll make there.
Okay. So the direction would be to have our folks look at that, report back to the board to make sure that we are doing whatever we can as due diligence-wise, protect the taxpayer's wallet at the end of the day. Commissioner Herr.
So I agree with all that, and then I would also say that it would be beneficial, I'm going to leave statute out of it, it would be beneficial for the clerk's staff and our team to work together to make sure that we have as many checks and balances as we can on our side of the equation, so that we're actually protecting not only the public, but the individuals that are in this together. There has to be multiple sets of eyes on things, just so that we are doing everything that we can from a due diligence perspective, not only from a statutory perspective.
Sure. Okay. So it sounds like we have direction. Everyone's okay with that? Commissioner Constantine?
Procedurally, I would say that you go to the clerk, as Commissioner Herr said, just let them know that if there's any requests, to let us know.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Do you all feel you have direction?
Yes, sir.
on that item?
In anticipation of this, our budget director is already pulling information together.
Okay.
And Nathan and I will coordinate to speak with the clerk.
Okay. And then finally, on quasi-related to item 50 today, the lien, code enforcement lien, I want to make sure that the decision the county made, this board made today, interact with the clerk of the courts to ensure that money that's in escrow, in fact, gets sent to the county, and verified it gets sent to the county, because I do not want to happen to this, what happened earlier this year, when the clerk, which was arguably one floor up, had escrow money claiming to send to us undeliverable to the county, which was literally one floor down, they could have walked down and handed it to us, was in fact sent back to the original property owner as unclaimed by the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners. I don't want that to happen again.
Yes, sir.
That was $60-some thousand that was supposed to come to the county that went back to the original violator of the property. Whatever it takes, we again, to Commissioner Herr's point, whatever checks and balances need to happen, if we need to send somebody up there every day and go, hey, is there anything in escrow from the clerk that belongs to the county, tell us now and just give it to us. And go deposit it in the bank on behalf of the taxpayers. So.
I think we have a speaker running down to the podium. And while she's running, I would like to say, I think Dominique sat on the canvassing or observing the canvassing
Yes,
board as well. So
that's
you
right.
get to get thanked
Yes, thank
from
you
all of us for that.
At the last minute, that's right.
Yes.
Ms. Hammack.
Sure, if it's okay, I can just address your last comment related to the code enforcement lien reduction.
Yes.
So the amount of the lien being held in escrow isn't with the county, it's not with
Okay.
the clerk, it's with the real estate transaction
fine.
because the property sold.
Right.
And so when the property sold, they said, okay, you have to hold the lien in escrow. And so what will happen then is the title company or the representative for the estate will pay the
Sure.
lien with that amount that's being held in escrow.
Okay.
But regarding the process that you were also referencing,
Yes.
we do have it in place. We have met with the clerk, so we're fully informed, and we've been requesting those, and we actually have gotten several satisfactions, 100% paid, and some partial paid
Good.
from that.
So you're confident we now have that process tightened up to the point where?
Absolutely, yeah. They didn't, the letters and the notices they didn't know where to send them, and they were being sent to the wrong people, and so all that's being straightened.
We're one floor down in the same building.
I'm not sure how that occurred, but
Just saying.
yeah. But it's all
Thank
been worked
you.
out. But
Yes,
thank you.
great. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chairman, the highly anticipated code enforcement work session is September 24th.
Yes.
Mark your calendars.
Fantastic. We'll be here for a while on that one.
Should I bring the popcorn machine down?
Please do. Birthday cake.
Yay. Also, to finish up, other event at the airport, which is those who are familiar with American Builder Supply is extending their lease for an extended period of time and are going to invest approximately $5 to $10 million in improvements of their facility. So that's good news for the Sanford Orlando International Airport. So with that said, that's all I have on my report. So that wraps us up for that. We will now move to the public comment portion of our meeting, which is at the end of our meeting. So this is a time where we allow public input of citizens that want to come in and talk about anything in general related to county business or anything that they're seeing in their community they want to put on our radar. Again, the same rules apply. It's not a time to jump up and down and clap and scream and yell and have dialogue back and forth. It also is not the time to wave signs and make aspersions or attack individuals. We expect proper decorum and professionalism in anything that you're about to say. When you come up, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak on your topic, and you will just say your name and your address. And Dominic, we will call them up 3 at a time. So we'll try to move through this as efficiently as possible. We also would remind you, try not to be redundant in what other speakers are saying, because if you are, our public comment remains open for approximately 30 minutes. So we will work through that as quick as we can with as many speakers we have. Because of that, we want as many people to be represented. If you are hearing something you like, thumbs up. If you don't like what they're saying, thumbs down. But it's not like yay, no, and screaming back and forth. And as well, make sure that you, as much as you would like to say the same thing that 3 or 4 other people have said, by the time the 3rd or 4th person says it, we're all hearing it. Because we only run this for a 30-minute event at the end of each meeting, I'm going to probably cut most of you short if you get a little too long-winded or you're duplicating the same thing. So with that said, let's start with the first item. Commissioner Herr?
I would we have an Eagle Scout in the room that's been sitting here
Yeah, he's
for a
coming up.
while.
First.
Is he going to be
Yeah.
first? Okay. I just want
Gotcha.
to make sure we're doing that.
Gotcha.
Yep. William Watts.
Oh, sweet, thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Watts.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is William Watts. I live in Longwood, Florida, and I was here approximately like a year ago to present my Eagle project. This is just last clarification to any of the new stuff. So the project proposal last year was a memorial for Sergeant First Class Alan Cash and Staff Sergeant Robert Miller. They are actually listed on the back of the Heroes Memorial at the Seminole County Courthouse. They are native to Seminole County, they're accredited to Seminole County, and they both earned the Congressional Medal of Honor in the War on Terror. My project, the project is the 2 bronze plaques, and I was asking for permission to place them on the back of the Heroes Memorial, pointed where my finger is. That is where I'd like to place them, and I'm here today to ask for permission. I'm also here to ask your opinions on the plaque designs that I've created for both Staff Sergeant Miller and for Sergeant First Class Cash. Here are options 1 and 2, and here are options 1 and 2 for Cash.
Dominic, can you start the timer, please? Thank you.
That was going
Proceed.
quick. Sorry. So here are the two designs that I have. And then the project completion, installation, and ceremony next steps, it would be to get your permission on both the designs, and then go to both the Cash and Miller families for their final say on the plaque designs. And then I'm currently working with the American Bronze Foundry on the plaque designs, and they will install it with your permission, of course. I'm going to continue fundraising, then finalize the payments with the Bronze Foundry. And then I will install the plaques on the Heroes Memorial, and then I will plan the final ceremony. Fundraising. I've currently raised about $1,800, and I was generously given a match of up to $5,000 by V3 Capital, also located in Longwood, Florida. I will continue to sell challenge coins. I've used them as fundraising, and they're sold for $15 each. And I will also continue to solicit donations as well. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions. I would urge you to work with our folks, continue to work, make sure that this young man is connected with everybody that needs to have a say-so on how it goes, placement, get all the data to our offices. We're happy to review the plaques and designs and so forth. But yeah, this is probably not the setting on how we approve certain things, but I sincerely admire your fortitude in moving this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Herr.
So I might get you there. Feedback, because you came asking for feedback, I will give you feedback. So very nicely done. I would tell you that I think it's up to the families to pick the style of the plaque, that from a county perspective, I think it would benefit us that they land on a design, so they are not different. And then you will probably be setting the pace for any of these that come forward, so that's kind of cool. And I think if we work through staff, I certainly would support doing this in honor of these two gentlemen.
Sure. Yeah. Mr. Constantine, do you want to say anything?
Ditto.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, just so we're clear, this is typically not the time we have a lot of engagement. It's for the public to come give us their opinions, but I understand accordingly.
Well, I'll just
Mr.
say,
Lockhart.
I'll just say, great job in taking on this. It's a big project, and I remember when you came and presented it to us, and it's just so heartening to see young people in our community doing great things for the right reasons. And so I'll echo the process pieces that have been shared by my colleagues in terms of working through staff, but thank you. Thank you for stepping in and seeing a need and filling it. So we'll look forward to next steps.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would also commend you for your hard work and your ability to come forward, and I would agree with the commissioners that we should ask the families what they want.
Yes, sir.
Since it's their loss.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
All good?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
We appreciate it. All right, Dominique, if you will call 3 at a time. I got that one a little ahead of the ball game there. And if, as you come up, give us a brief description on what you want to talk about, and then we'll get your name and your address for the record, and we'll get things moving. Dominique, please, first 3.
Chris Buchanan, Gail Nagan, and Vera Clark.
What was the second name?
Gail Nagan, Animal
Nagan?
Allies, Inc.
Okay. And I'll remind you, if anybody is here to speak on behalf of an entity, I would urge you to speak on behalf of that entity, and the rest of your entity would not speak, because you're speaking on behalf of them. So you'll be given 6 minutes if that's the case, but your rest of your folks would not be speaking on behalf of the organization. So please proceed.
And I am speaking on behalf of the organization Tiers with some concerns that we are having with Seminole County Animal Services.
Okay, you'll have 6 minutes. If you'll just give us your name and address.
Okay, my name
please.
is Chris Buchanan. I reside at 647 Short Orr Court in Sanford. just a little bit about the TIERS and Seminole County background, Seminole County Animal Services background. TIERS has been supporting Seminole County over the last 14 years. We have provided multiple capital improvement assets, including shade structures, kennel fans, anesthesia machine, a dental machine, nebulizers for the foster homes, and over the last couple years, 2 blood machines that the shelter needed. We have facilitated the adoptions of just over 2,700 dogs and cats. Over the last 3 years, we have been responsible for 21% of the cat adoptions through our volunteers, social media, and off-site Petco adoption centers that TIERS has been partnered with since 2013. We have covered the cost and volunteer needs of the off-site Petco adoption centers, which has been no small feat, as it requires a volunteer to visit daily to clean, feed, and check on the health of the cats each day. The way that TIERS has provided goods and services to Seminole County has been extremely effective in filling in the gaps that the county budget could not meet. It's a very unique relationship that we have with Seminole County, and to date providing over $500,000 to the animal shelter. I want to talk really quick about the Petco adoption program. In 2013, TIERS was approached by Petco to keep the provide adoptable cats and kittens in their care. We worked very closely with Bob Hunter and Diane Gagliano at that time and figured out a way to do that. And in doing that, what we decided to do was to take the little liability out of the shelter's hands and put it into ours and be able to showcase cats and kittens for adoption up at Petco. So we've been doing that, and again, in doing that, 21% of the cats and kittens that come into Seminole County are adopted. In April of 2014, in February of 2014, we came under new management with Adam Leith. And in April of 2014, I started to, some things got brought to my attention, and I did have concerns about the empty foster homes and the low intake of cats and kittens. This was directly affected by the off-site adoption program. I met with Adam Leith and Alan Harris to introduce myself and to talk about how we could all work together. Incredibly, at this meeting, it was suggested that if we needed cats and kittens for this particular program, that maybe we should look elsewhere and to move our resources to another county or to another organization. This was a problem for me for sure. Since then, Adam and Alan have made it very difficult for this program to continue. They want us to operate as a rescue and adopt cats and kittens immediately upon intake and take on the responsibility of all medical care, including spay, neuter, and microchipping. We were able to meet with Darren and Tricia, and with their help, we were able to go back to business as usual, but it is not. Business as usual has turned into being allowed to adopt once the cat is available to the public and on the adoption floor. He does not want them to go back to foster care. He, meaning Adam, does not want them to go back to foster care, which has the foster home's concerns. Sometimes we don't have space at Petco right away, and so they are placed back with their foster home. Adam will tell you it's best for the animal to be in a foster home instead of the shelter, but for us, the animal has to come back to the shelter to be adopted. So we're confused on which one is it. He keeps going back and forth. Alan and Adam have stated both that TIERS should be following the protocol of other rescuers and managing the care ourselves. However, I ask you, what other rescue has given over $500,000 to the county shelter? There's probably not one. Severing the relationship with TIERS is just one piece of what Adam and Alan are doing, and when you look at the very aggressive approach and changes that have made to the shelter since February, it's clear that the agenda of Best Friends have been put into place. Despite the number of times you have told Best Friends in Seminole County is not interested in partnering with them. Adam says he is not affiliated with Best Friends, but how do you explain the multimedia campaign promoting him and thanking our county for hiring him, the sharp decrease in intakes, and the addition of promoting TNR or SNR to any strays, including owner surrenders, indoor and friendly cats. They are selectively taking in highly adoptable dogs instead of those in need, eliminating the shelter as a resource for residents to safely bring unwanted or found pets to, and instead increasing the amount of resources the shelter provides to residents with food and vaccines, with the idea that anyone surrendering an animal doesn't really want to, they just need a bag of food. He is so hyper-focused on the numbers and on reaching that 90% no-kill status per Best Friends. Let me talk to you about some of these diversion programs that they speak about. By the time a person has decided to bring their animal to the shelter, they are out of options. People usually have reached out to family and rescues by that time. These local rescues are often run by volunteers in a shoestring budget and do not have the vet staff, facility, or a county budget from which to operate. You are being told the intake numbers are low because they are providing resources to keep pets in their homes with the families. This is the diversion program they speak of. This is only partially true. They are not telling you about turning animals and residents away and about increasing TNR efforts to include indoor, owner surrenders, and family cats. Yes, this has been going on. We have several documentation that, with the TNR, that one owner actually surrendered his cat. It showed back up on his property. Another resident was told to put the baby kittens back outside in her backyard, and after fighting with Adam and Allen, was allowed to bring them back into the shelter. Several instances of different
You're almost
people
out of
being
time,
told
ma'am.
away. Citizens are being told that we are full. We can offer to make an appointment for an evaluation, but no guarantee your pet will be accepted. We cannot take any animals now or in the future. And of course, we are full and not accepting animals indefinitely. This is not what our county shelter is about. We're not an open shelter right now. We are a limited intake shelter, and that's going against policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, please. Let's go ahead and call 3 more names. Ms. Dominique, please. If y'all would just listen for your name to be called, please, if you would just go ahead and line up.
Charlie Pioli, Jenna Delgado, and Jeanette Rawlings.
All right, if you folks would go ahead and line up. Yes, ma'am, please
Hi,
proceed.
my name's Gail Nagan. I live at 4242 Shades Crest Lane, Sanford.
Yes, Ms. Megan.
I have a small organization, Animal Allies, and I don't have much to say. Can I give 3 of my minutes to
No, ma'am.
Chris?
We don't pass minutes. Please proceed.
Okay.
Let's try to wrap it up.
Tried.
Go ahead
Okay,
and say.
I moved here in '02 and found that animal services was very behind the times. So myself, a lot of citizens approached the commissioners, and happy to say Seminole County Animal Services had a lot of great improvements. They never used to spay and neuter before adoptions, then they started to. They had not one volunteer. Now they have hundreds, and volunteer coordinator. They have tiers. Well, they had tiers, I should say. And, you know, I was very happy for the progression, but now it's very upsetting, the things I'm hearing. And why would you get rid of an organization that has done so much, like Tiers? And a woman, Andrea Hubbs, has done so much saving feral cats from euthanasia. And a lot of them weren't really feral. They were placed in homes for adoption. And I heard that they also severed ties with her as well. And I want to say 3 of the best things that I think has happened is Diane Gagliano, Tiers, and Andrea Hubbs. And they've done so much for the county. And I want to say a couple of things that need to be done for us to go no-kill is that the commissioners have to approve some things. We really need a low-cost spay-neuter, or even free for people that can't afford it. The county does nothing itself to help with fixing the animals that are not in the shelter. And to stop them from ending up in the shelter, we have to fix the ones that are outside. Every other county around here has something. We do have Spay and Save, which is great, but they're very overwhelmed. There's a very long wait for people. And the other thing is if the county would help with TNR, promote it as something good that we need to do, and maybe even have employees that do it. We used to have a $25 rebate for every animal that we fixed and had a rabies shot, but that was taken away because somebody thought that we were making money off of it. Meanwhile, we have thousands of dollars worth of vet bills and food and everything else. So those are 2 of my recommendations for the county. It's time we do that. And I'm very proud of how much we progressed since 2003. And now it's time to do a little more. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, Gail used to sit on the Animal Services Board.
Sure. Understood. Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Charlie Pioli. I live at 1330 Gulfview Street, Orlando, Florida. I own a for-profit business named O-Town Compost that collects and recycles food waste from over 200 Seminole County residents, businesses, and event venues. We work together with a decentralized network of farmers in the region who process the food waste into compost, paying them tipping fees and buying back their product. Today, O-Town Compost is a financially sustainable business collecting and composting 150 tons of food waste per month with a fleet of 7 vehicles, employing 10 men and women with competitive pay and benefits. Our team is passionate about protecting the natural environment and conserving its resources. We view food waste as a feedstock to replenish our soil and not trash that takes up the landfill space. The time has come, I feel, for Seminole County and other Central Florida municipalities to develop a short and long-term solid waste management plan that prioritizes waste diversion over landfilling. The negative externality of landfilling our waste isn't fully being realized yet, and we're kicking the can down the road to future generations, who will one day have to deal with the disposal crisis when the landfill inevitably runs out of room. How do we move Seminole County towards a low-waste society? I advise we start with addressing organic waste, which makes up around 45% of the landfill, or the lion's share. Composting organic waste can't be looked at as a feel-good service, but instead ought to be viewed as a utility along trash and recycling. The county can adopt public policy that's already proven to work in other municipalities, like rebates for businesses who source, separate, and divert their food waste, and incentive programs like a pay-as-you-throw variable rate trash billing system utilized in Gainesville, which rewards residents that produce less garbage with a smaller garbage can. The sooner we move away from the current status quo, the longer we can forego a disposal crisis, and Seminole County will remain resilient to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lockhart.
Just for the good of whoever might be listening, not to engage, but just so you know, Kim Ornberg and her team have been working on something very similar, and I think it's exciting. I have talked about compost up here in the past, and I think people look at me like I'm a Lulabelle because I do compost my kitchen scraps and what have you, but I think there is great opportunity there, and I did not know that there was a private entity doing that in this region, so that was awesome to learn.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address.
Yes. My name is Jenna Delgado. I live at 628 Charisse Place in Sanford. I'm coming to you as a concerned citizen. What I'm hearing about Seminole County Animal Services and what I know to be true is incredibly concerning. What is happening with Best Friends and the policies that they are implementing should not be tolerated in this county, and it actually has been expressed by this Board of Commissioners that it will not be accepted here. Adam Leith being hired in February of 2024 this year in such a short amount of time has caused such damage. I'd like to present some numbers to you that has been a matter of public record. From February to August of 2022, there were 3,819 animal intakes. In that same time period, in last year, there was 3,377. This year, in February through August, there has been 2,318. That is not a miracle of TNR. That is not an act of God. That is because constituents are being turned away. Citizens are not being allowed to turn their animals into the shelter. And as was stated before, that is their absolute last resort. They're not coming there because they can't afford a vaccine. They can't afford food. They are coming there because they have no other choice. I am incredibly disappointed at what has been happening. I'm disappointed at the employees who have felt forced to leave their jobs as a result of his management. And all that we're asking is for your support. I understand that you can't be involved in the hiring and firing of employees, but the county manager's office is. We are asking for your support. We are pleading for it. We are urging for it, not on our own behalf and for our organization, but for the animals of Seminole County. They deserve better. The people here that are in support of what we're talking about today feel the exact same way. Nobody likes to see this. It doesn't reflect well on our county. Best Friends has demoralized and has ruined shelters across the country because of their policies, and we have hired a manager that they celebrate for doing the exact same thing here. We should not be setting an example of being another shelter in America that has fallen victim to poor management and the actions of Best Friends Animal Society. We need to set the example for our county, for our state, and for the great people that live here that it absolutely will not be tolerated. A 90% save rate at the expense of the welfare of animals is not in their best interest. It is in the best interest of somebody who is acting on those policies, but really in regards to anybody else, it carries absolutely no weight. I am disheartened and it makes me sad. However, we're coming to you today urging this upon you, and we're requesting your support because the animals and the people of this county desperately need it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. I want to just mention something for those speakers that are about to come up. I would urge you do at your own peril that you're going to name names and accuse people of doing certain things that have not been proven out. You're certainly welcome to your opinions. I would just caution you in saying certain things, but by all means, say whatever you'd like. But I will not allow us to attack people by name or organizations. What I will tell you is county management is investigating, is looking, is checking. Nobody's being ignored. Nobody is saying this is some myth somewhere, but we have to do our due diligence, and it is happening. It may not be happening on your time frame, but I will tell you, government does not move quickly. And that's often good in some cases, bad in others. And I would tell you, there's not a commissioner here that desires any peril come to any of our animals. So rest assured, our management team is digging in and investigating. So with that said, I would just ask you, tell us your concerns, try not to make aspersions or things that aren't factual or have no factual basis, and you name names at your own peril. So please continue.
Okay, great. My name's Jeanette Rollings. I live at 279 Sunrise Point in Lake Mary, and I'm here as a representative of Cats Can Cat Rescue, which is one of the rescues that's been affected by some of the changes at Seminole County Animal Services, and as a foster and volunteer for Pet Alliance in the past, Cats Can currently, and I have also recently fostered a litter for Seminole County Animal Services in the spring. So I have a perspective on a few things. First, it does appear that what's going on at Seminole County Animal Services is straight out of the Best Friends playbook, and so I agree with those others. We know that people are being turned away, that animals even who have been adopted through Animal Services are then not being accepted for return, one being left in the adoption box in the parking lot. So there's some things that I have heard about. Last Wednesday, one of the changes that was made that really concerns me is the posting up for adoption 6-week-old baby kittens on the website at Seminole County. These kittens were currently in a foster home, so they were being cared for, being raised to be, healthy cats with good behavior. And it was available for anybody to foster to adopt. In other words, any Seminole County resident or whatever who had the money could come in and take home a little baby kitten, whether they knew what they were doing or not. And this kitten's not raised with the benefit of their litter mates or their mothers, do end up having behavior issues, such as extra scratchiness and biting issues. So that's just one thing with the foster program that bothered me. I was also directly told that, this was in April, that kittens don't need kitten food. They can eat whatever they have there at the shelter. So I feel that a foster program is a really great way to keep animals out of the cages and out of the shelter, to reduce the infection that could happen when cats are all together in the shelter, and also help them to become better pets and animals. So I really would like to encourage you to look into whether the foster program is being encouraged and promoted. And I think Diane Gagliano has served very well in that capacity, and I hate to hear that she has had difficulty remaining in her position, and it may even be terminated as of this point now. The other thing is when people come in and want to relinquish their pet, They are given a list of options, and our rescue is one of the rescues listed on here, and we have been directly impacted by this. We have seen the number of people coming to us who have been turned away has increased. So,
Ma'am, you're out of time.
yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Next
you.
three, please.
Brenda Sanborn, Jennifer Thomas, and Mark Thomas.
Sanford, Thomas, and Thomas.
I am Brenda Sanborn. My address is 540 Old Geneva Road, Geneva, Florida. And I am also a newly retired Seminole County Animal Services employee. I'm not a disgruntled employee, so I'm not here for that reason. I don't want you to think that. I am here to back Tiers on everything that they said. They're a wonderful organization. Anything good. I was there for 18 years, and anything that was good that happened for animal services was thanks to Chris Buchanan and Tiers. I do want to also say that what is being said is not hearsay, it's not gossip. I'm not going to name any names. I was planning on retiring the end of the year, but due to policy changes, I moved it up a little because I did not agree with the policies, and one of which was my position was the animal bite investigator. But whenever dispatch would take their lunch break or when they would leave at 4 o'clock, I would sit in for dispatch. And I was repeatedly told that if people would surrender animals to bring them in, no matter what their reason was. I mean, there would people would be on the phone crying because they were getting booted out of their apartment and needed to surrender their animals to us. And I had to sit there and lie and say, I'm sorry, the shelter is full. Meanwhile, later in the day, you walk through the shelter, we're not full. You can walk through the back end of the shelter, there's plenty of kennel runs. You walk into the stray cat area, there will be plenty of open cages for surrender animals. So to sit there, call after call, and tell people, I'm sorry, we're not accepting animals. And then we would have a list of rescues trying to pawn the animals off on rescues, which we know those rescues are overwhelmed. And also, I just lost my train of thought, but that's where I'm going. I mean, it's absolutely the truth this is going on. And the employees are, by what she just said, are being told to do this. The customer service front desk people are being told when people come in and say they need to surrender their animals, they can't. They have nowhere. And so what people end up doing is leaving them chained out in the backyard and just abandoning or letting them loose. They'll let them loose on the streets because what else are they going to do? And the thing is they're not doing that because they can't afford a bag of dog food. That's the truth. I don't want to repeat that because she already said that. They're not getting rid of them. They don't have the money to take the animals to the vet for rabies shots.
Thank you. We're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Thomas.
You must be the first part of the Thomas.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm the first one speaking.
Please, go ahead.
I live at 11823 Groveview Way. I am a foster for Seminole County Animal Services, only for Seminole County Animal Services, so I'm here to tell you a personal experience. Before I do, I would like to read a statute from the Seminole County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 20, Animals and Fowl. Under Article 1, Animal Control, it says Animal Services Division, the Division of Seminole County Government responsible for the following, and it starts with the care of the animals inside the county shelter. When I became a foster, I received a packet, and inside this packet it says, if you become a foster parent, SCAS will provide you with food, medication, and shelter vet care for your foster animals. For the longest time, this was happening. But now I want to tell you the story of Twilight. I picked up Twilight, I'm sorry, on July 27th with another kitten to foster. It started out like any other foster, but Twilight ended up getting sick. He had a physical deformity that he was born with. I brought him to the shelter because his breathing was labored. I had contacted Diane, the head of the foster care, she is the foster care coordinator, on August the 6th to let her know the issue. She told me to bring him in on August the 7th, so I did. I brought him in, the veterinarian did an x-ray, found that what she called a hiatal hernia and said, treat him this way, and when it's time to neuter him, we should be able to repair that. By the next day, it was obvious that he could not wait. So I continued to contact, and Diane kept trying to get me back in to see the veterinarian again. On Friday, August the 9th, I brought him in for Diane to look at. She said the veterinarian is not doing surgeries today. Diane gave me medication in hopes that he could survive the weekend. I was going to find and pay for a veterinarian to fix him with my own money, which I do not mind doing. Part of the reason I got into fostering with Seminole County Animal Services was to help take some of the burden off of them. I had been a veterinary technician for 8 years prior, and I'm very familiar with animal care. On the surface, he ended up dying that evening. He died at an emergency clinic. On the surface, it looks like it was the fault of the veterinarian, but on Monday, Diane was brought into a meeting, written up, and spoken to by HR for providing me with medication to give to this kitten to try and keep him alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, I believe.
Here?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mark Thomas, also at 11823 Groveview Way. I want to give you the perspective of a family member of part of the foster care program. Like, my wife is the official foster. My son and I help raise all the foster kittens that we get. And it's a really challenging but rewarding job to do that. So we know sometimes they come in, they'll often be sick, and we'll be able to get them through. Sometimes not, through no fault of anyone else. But when one comes along and is sick and could have been helped by the people who own the kitten, Seminole County, it was a really discouraging thing for us. Because to take a kitten and raise it and prepare it, and one that's feral maybe, and get it ready to be adopted is a big, long process, because you end up getting attached, but you know you're preparing it for a new home and a new family. So we've worked, a lot of our kittens have been adopted through friends of ours or through tiers especially, and I can tell you the thing that's really gratifying is when I hear from my wife that there's a picture of someone at Petco who adopted both kittens that we had dropped off there. And there's a picture of a smiling couple where she's holding both kittens and they're both giving her a kiss on the cheek. That's what we really live for. And that whole process is really in danger right now. We've developed a partnership with the animal services, with tiers, with us all working together is a great example of our government getting along with the citizens in a fantastic way, and that's really in danger because part of that partnership is just being destroyed. So I would encourage you to push forward for making things to go back the way they were, because it's not too late to get things back to the way they were. Even though the relationships are getting bad, I really hope that you do whatever you can to make things right again. It's entirely possible, and we're ready to keep fostering with a good relationship with SCPS. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. How many more speaker forms do we have?
5.
Okay. Let's get those 5 lined up. Let's read them off.
Michelle Duval Rubin,
Reuben?
Blair Walters,
Walters?
Charla Ward,
Ward?
Andrew Hubbs,
Is that Hubs? Hubs?
and Wendy Jennings.
And Jennings. All right, we'll bring this in for a landing.
Can I ask, before my time starts, I have two questions that I think several people would like to know the answers.
We're not here to answer questions, ma'am. This
How do I
is-
get the answers?
You
I can't
can
get it from
interact with,
anybody.
we'll make
Okay.
sure you can interact with our staff, so please proceed.
Okay. My name is Michelle Duval Rubin. I reside at 4017 Shady Oak Court in Lake Mary, Florida. The two questions are, so they're out there, is I'd like to get a copy of the operating procedures for Seminole County Animal Services. I, as a resident, have had an impossible time finding these. And then number two, I'd also like to know how we get on the agenda so we're allotted more time. Some of the people that came to speak had to leave, so that's that. All right. I would like to know who gave this authorization to make changes to the policies of the way Seminole County Animal Services operates, since they no longer take in items or animals that are lost or owner surrender. Per Florida state regulations and laws stated under floridaregstoday.com, item number 17, or Florida Animal Rescue Act, if an animal is abandoned by its owner, it must be taken by the Public Animal Control Agency. And as we can see, that's not happening. Next, this is tied into who gave authorization to Seminole County government for the website to change to say that residents must call to make an appointment to relinquish animals. I believe this is an outdated practice left over from COVID era. It did not used to exist. According to Florida statutes, the must accept strays, we want to know that how is it possible that the shelter's being telling residents that, again, it's full. Sorry, I'm trying to jump around here. Volunteers have stated that there are empty dog runs, et cetera, as we heard. This ties into, where do I go here? Okay. That, trying to make it fast now, okay. We also know, or it is rumored, that the management here at Seminole County Animal Services has told their officers that they must call in to get approval before they can bring in or pick up an animal reported as a stray. Also, that they are being told to take animals being deemed they're going to let loose in feral communities that were previously indoor pet animals. This, according to Florida statutes, is animal abandonment. And I, as a resident, would be subject to a $5,000 fine for doing such. So, is management at Seminole County subject to this fine? Because this is repeatedly happening. Okay. And also, it's my understanding that this one individual is also deeming animals dangerous without going in front of the Animal Control Board, which is, again, against Florida regulations. Another thing that I'm concerned about is I, as a Seminole resident and past foster and volunteer, have requested the public records for the distribution of the foster homes, partner rescues, and volunteers twice, but have yet to receive it. What do I have to do if I'm sending multiple public records requests? How long should this take? All right. And the references to best friends, I dropped off a bunch of information, is there. But if you search, you'll see that actually he is quoted, Adam Leith is quoted on the Best Friends website. So there's obviously connection there.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbs. If you would, staff, if you would get with Ms. Hubbs and direct her to where our code's located at, so she can, at her leisure, be able to get access to that. Yes, ma'am. Next.
I'm Charlotte Ward. I'm 1145 Twin Oaks Circle, Oviedo, Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been a Seminole County resident for 19 years and volunteering with Seminole County Animal Services for 12. And I help by taking the cat and kitten photos and you put them on Pet Finder. Been doing that for 12 years. In March of this year, I noticed a drop in the number of cats available to photograph and put on Pet Finder, and I was told we had a new shelter manager. So I met with Adam the beginning of April to see what changes he was implementing. If I'm volunteering, I need to know what's happening in my, who am I volunteering for? He told me the officers were not picking up cats and kittens in the field, which I said, how does that help animal overpopulation? And he said they would not necessarily take an animal I bring in. Even though on day one of volunteer orientation, I was told Seminole County is an open county shelter and will not turn away any animals. He referred to a lot of best practices and a 90% live release rate. I also voiced my concerns. After I voiced my concerns, I left feeling discouraged, especially as he ended the conversation with a comment about estrogen and letting my emotions get in the way. Honestly, I was shocked by his statement. In late April, I photographed a cat. I don't know if you've heard of him, Wolfie. He was a 22-pound owner surrender. His owner had passed. He was scared out of his mind at the shelter. I read on his card that if he does not get adopted, that they would SNR him, which I didn't know what that was. It was a new term to me, but basically it's a TNR, but it's a sheltering already. So then I thought, oh my gosh, they're abandoning this 22-pound cat outdoors. How is he going to survive? And then I thought, how many other ones have they done this to? And then other comments on the cards, I was seeing okay to take, or left at the front door, left at the gate, left in the lobby, and finder unable to hold. So I'm guessing they've been asking people to hold animals for them. I decided to attend the Animal Control Board meeting in June to see if there was any mention of the things I was seeing. I noticed, when I'd never heard of them before, Change Save Seminole spoke, and they commented on how great the numbers were at the shelter. So I spoke with one of the members, and that member told me that they knew the past manager was not willing to work with them. They knew that Adam was an advocate for no kill, and they asked him to apply. This led me to research who Change Save Seminole was, because I had no idea. And it says on their website they are with Best Friends Animal Society. So now I'm very confused at what's going on. Are they recruiting people to come to our shelter? I'm hoping that you will look deeper into this. I know you said you are, because if things are changing, residents and volunteers have a right to know what's going on. And I'm here today speaking for the cats. Hopefully they get more homes. And Wolfie was adopted.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrea Hubbs. I'm at 411 Ipswich Street, Altamont Springs, 32701. I run the nonprofit group Seminole County TNVR, and I'm also a Seminole County resident. Just for the record, we're separate from Seminole County Animal Services and Spay and Save, because a lot of times people think we're intermingled and we're not. We started our group in November of 21 to help residents and business owners TNVR community cats at no cost to them. We became a nonprofit in June of 23, and we also became an official rescue partner with Seminole County Animal Services at this time. We started with 3 volunteers, and now we're up to 28 volunteers, so we've grown quite a bit. Since we began in 21, we have TNVR'd approximately 2,500 cats and kittens for residents and business owners, and that's all out of our pockets. And since September of 22, we have TNVR'd 878 cats and kittens from Seminole County Animal Services, and adopted out 290 of them through various rescues. Until March of this year, SCAS was delivering all of their TNVR cats to Spay and Save on Thursdays, where my group paid to get them spayed and neutered, vaccinated, and ear-tipped. And then I would recover them at my house after surgery, and then spend hours on the weekends releasing them back to their neighborhoods. They were outdoor cats that had feeders. If I found adoptable ones, those are the ones I would adopt out through different organizations. So the cost was $63 a cat. That was the spay-neuter package with flea meds and worm medicine. And that's if they weren't sick. We did get a lot of them from Animal Services that had upper respiratory, and we were responsible for supplying the meds for that. They would not give me any meds. We also had to buy our own food and litter. Since then, they've given us about 5 donations of food. Al Adams, he's awesome. He's been doing that. So we have spent approximately $157,000 on community cats for Seminole County residents and approximately $53,000 on community cats we've received from Seminole County Animal Services. When Adam Lee took over as shelter director in March, they started TNVRing their own cats. I thought this was a great idea until I started hearing some disturbing stories from various sources. One story I confirmed was with an SCAS employee that said they were releasing the owner surrenders outside. This is a huge problem since a lot of owner surrenders have only lived their lives inside and none of them would be able to find food and water. I've also learned that they were releasing TNVR cats to some woods off of State Road 434 in Oviedo. According to the ordinance passed in April of 2022, Seminole County Animal Services is supposed to be working with the rescue partner for training in TNVR. I reached out numerous times to help, and they've never taken me up on my offer to help. In the past few months, they've also been directing a lot of calls to us that do not pertain to our group. Okay.
I'm sorry, you're out of time, ma'am.
Okay, I don't get 6 minutes? or-
No, ma'am. We've gone way past half hour of public input. I appreciate your patience.
Okay.
Hi, Blair Walters. I reside at 138 Williams Street in Edgewater, Florida, 32141. I am one of the originals with the Seminole County TMVR program. I've spoken to y'all before. And I'm the call taker, and I dispatch our calls when we have cats that people are needing help to TMVR them. I'll dispatch them out to our team. I used to get an average of 5 calls a week. I don't do it full time. All of us have jobs and families, and this is a volunteer thing that we all do. And I take to handling the phones because I don't live locally anymore. I used to live here for 25 years in TMVR in Seminole County. So my call, since March, man, my calls have doubled. And I'm asking people, I started, wonder why are all these calls going up? So I thought I'd start asking people, why are you, how'd you get our number? And they go, oh, Seminole County Animal Services gave it to you. And I'm like, why aren't they helping you? I mean, this is who they are. They always helped before. I'm like, well, why are they giving you to us? And they said, and I'm getting various, excuses. It's like, well, they don't take cats anymore. I said, what do you mean you don't take cats anymore? That's part of an animal, and they're animal services. And they go, yeah, they're not taking cats anymore. I said, well, you just need your cat fixed. They fix cats. They go, no, they're not doing that anymore either. I'm like, well, what are they doing? And people are calling us because they want to surrender their cats, or they want a colony to disappear, and they go, oh, call Seminole County TMVR program. They do all that. They can relocate them for you. We don't relocate. You don't relocate cats. You don't. They're not that easily acclimated to a new area, and it's not what we do anyway. And if you speak to your resident and explain to them the cat colony and how to work with it, and let's get the cats fixed, because I think once all the kittens stop appearing, which is what really pulls at people's heartstrings, is watching the hawks pick them up or having them disappear to the coyotes and everything else. People tend to say, well, okay, if you'll get them fixed, you can bring them back, because I don't mind feeding them. I just don't need, I had 3 last year, and I've got 17 now, and I'm like, yeah, next summer you're going to have 38, and so let's start fixing them now. And, people are like, oh, okay, I'm good with that. But it just takes a little bit of education. And I really appreciate you, Chairman, saying, that y'all love animals, because we, the people, have been trying to get attention out of this county, and no one's listening. And that's why we're here, because
we are listening, trust me.
Okay, well, we need your help, and we greatly appreciate your comment, because we didn't think anyone was listening.
No, we're listening, trust me.
So, and I didn't mean to get off of that, but, and we need, we're a 501c3, so we truly do need funding, because we can't, afford to TMVR, pay for everybody's cats. A lot of the community kicks in, but, we have a lot of seniors that are on fixed incomes, and they love feeding the cats. So, we try and help everyone and all the cats we can, but please help us get these cats fixed so that we can all live together. And thanks again for your comment. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we need your help.
No,
Thanks.
absolutely. All right, our grand finale.
Don't expect that much. Wendy Jennings, 100 Amberwood Court, Longwood, Florida, 32779. I would like to just say that I'm, an animal, have worked in many animal organizations through the years, and in Seminole County in particular, both the domestic and wild animal community is pretty well connected. And the networks are only as good as the leadership and the volunteers, and I know the volunteers are awesome. I think the leadership right now is in question. I'm not going to go into any more details. You've all heard all the same things. I personally have dealt with Tears of Seminole, and they are amazing. The most incredible organization I've ever seen, top to bottom, no matter what. I have 2 Tears kitties right now. My 8-year-old, Midnight, is now Midnight Rider, and you can't catch him. He was born feral, and because Chris determines the personality of the cat with the adopter, she knew that he would be a good fit for us, and he is incredible, even though he probably wouldn't make it in some settings. I think the questions we have here on the addressing of the management at the shelter are one thing that everybody in the animal rescue community or the animal community in Seminole County always wants to talk about is people go, oh no, Seminole County is a kill shelter, they'll kill your animals. And everybody wants to say, no, take them there, they will not kill them. That is the first place that a person with a lost animal is going to check for their animal. But now, nobody is allowed to bring their animals to the shelter. So somebody that finds a lost animal basically has to hold them at their house, put it out to some kind of social media networks until they can no longer hold them. And oftentimes that animal will never get seen. I think partnering with the giant non-entity, nonprofit, whose name we will not mention again, who has a CEO that makes over $200,000 a year, who is going around the country partnering up with very small county animal services buildings for reasons we don't really know yet. I think maybe that needs to be the question of how we can save Seminole County Animal Services, which was until a few months ago an incredible service entity to the county. Right now, the county is not serving the residents of Seminole County. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, we'll end our public input, and I'm sure others will have something to say. But the before-mentioned unnamed big operator with the before-mentioned unnamed CEO, not on my watch. And I suspect that's my fellow commissioners' perspective as well, that we've already visited that movie, and I thought we made ourselves perfectly clear. I do want to assure everyone that, again, government moves slow. I come from the private sector. It's a whole different ballgame. I can walk into my private business, I can pull a couple people aside and say, you're fired, you're fired, and you're fired. Go away, I don't care why, I'll bring somebody else in and get the job done. Government doesn't work that way. So I would ask that each and every one of you, we have seen your emails, we have fielded your phone calls. We are aware of that. Our management's aware of it. Our management has made us aware of this. And so let us do our due diligence. Let us sift through all the items that should be sifted through so we can vet in and vet out what's being alleged, what's actually occurred, so we can get to the bottom of it and heal the animal community and all those that have assisted the county. I would ask that you be patient with us, and I assure you we'll get to the bottom of it. I will assure you that none of my fellow commissioners would desire to have anything but that. But again, it does unfortunately move at a snail's pace, but we'll get there. So with that, does any of the other commissioners have anything that they wish to say? Commissioner Lockhart.
I would just say, when we first had that organization from out of town come here, and after there were some individual interactions and public interactions, we made it very clear to the county manager and his team that this board decides who we partner with. And we said that that was not an organization we would choose to partner with. Similarly, I would say this board chooses who we partner with, and we've got multiple nonprofits with Seminole County citizens who are being treated differently and than they had been. Whether it's policy or practice, I think that remains to be seen, and I think we are interchanging in our conversations the difference between policy set by this board and practice that's been enacted by county management or county staff, and so that's important that we understand, you know, the Board of County Commissioners and our policy setting us up here, and practices and procedures are typically not in our purview. And so we probably, as a board, at some point need to talk about what do we want to have be the direction of the board. Never thinking in a million years we would be getting into the minutia that is being brought to us today. Are there always ways to improve? Absolutely. If you're an organization and you say you've already got it figured out and we're perfect, thank you, we don't need your help, there's something wrong with you, right? We know that. But when people who have been volunteering in this community for decades come forward and say, we have a problem, I'm much more apt to pay attention and listen than when someone comes swooping in from out of state and tries to create a problem in order to solve it.
Provide a solution.
Yes, and so I will just reiterate to the county management that I expect, not us, but me, I expect that our citizens and volunteers will be treated as they are used to, respectfully.
Yeah. Commissioner Herr.
So there were a lot of things that were said today that, absent of an answer to that, stop being a misconception and start being a truth. And I think we have a few of them that we need to get on the record that I have been assured are inaccurate, and so I'm going to do it again on the record. Are we an open shelter, Deputy County Manager?
We are. You can look on our website and see our intakes for the last 6 months. We average between 300 and 400 animals a month.
Last week, we took in 89, according to my records.
Yes.
And do you have to have an appointment before you can do it?
You do, but that's a practice that's been in place for many years. It's not new.
And so if I show up at the shelter with a dog in my hands, what happens?
They won't turn you away, but what some of the folks here are talking about are diversionary programs. Those are new. Not everyone likes them. That may be something we want to talk about at the board level. If someone comes in and says that they can't afford to have their animal, we'll try to support them with food. If someone comes in and says they found a dog in the neighborhood, we will try to, could you foster the dog in case it's one of your neighbors that lost it? But what I have been assured is that no one is turned away. And if someone says, I cannot keep the animal, for whatever reason, we will take the animal.
And so is it a bag of food?
As opposed
Because
to
there were
long-term.
several references to a bag of food. A bag of food doesn't solve a person's
No,
problem.
it doesn't solve a
now.
problem. I can't speak to the
Okay.
magnitude of food.
So I don't want to continue doing this, but I will, just from the perspective of this perception that we've done nothing about this, I think that you've spent hours doing
Exorbitant amount of
full-blown
time.
investigations at the senior management level in the organization to figure out how to get to the bottom of this. I will tell any of you in the audience that if you can give me an eyewitness, send them to my office. But I don't want hearsay. And a lot of the emails contain hearsay. I heard it was here today. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that doesn't help an investigation. I also would say that we live in an innocent until proven guilty country, and we are an innocent until proven guilty workplace, and that should be how it is. And I realize also that I use the example of a dog being surrendered, and the same goes for a cat, but I never imagined myself walking with a cat in my hands because I can't touch or breathe near a cat. So if I walk into the shelter with a cat, will they take the cat?
Yes.
All right, a couple of things that I think we need to reconcile. First of all, I think the website might be a little bit misleading because it says call for an appointment, the statement was made several times today that, look on your website, it says I can't take it in there. There's a leap of faith that's happening that's probably a public communication problem. And then I would also tell you that I cannot reconcile, I see all the numbers, and I cannot reconcile that we only have 16 cats up for adoption on the website today. And the number of dogs is relatively low as well, but I see the intake numbers. And so we have to get to the bottom of this in a public forum. I hate that we have to do that, but we do. Other than that, this becomes truth, and if it's not, that's not fair to our employees, and if it is, it's not fair to the citizens or the animals. We just have to reconcile it.
I would agree with all of your statements, and though I don't want to speak for the county manager, I'm confident that what his recommendation will be to bring back practices and policies for the board to learn more about, and then if the board would like to modify them, change them, that's certainly the board's purview to do so.
Thank you.
I can't give you a time frame on that yet. Mr. Gray has a meeting actually with Chris Buchanan and Alan Harris next week, and once that meeting concludes, that will give him some further direction.
Again, I would just ask that everybody be patient, let us work
Yep.
through the process, investigate, let's find out what's right, what's wrong. But the comment that was made earlier about letting your dogs loose in the neighborhood so they run off, I will assure you, my two dogs, if I let them loose anywhere, they would come running home immediately. They've got it too good. So if there's nothing else better for the good of the order, all right, we will close the meeting for today, and we appreciate everybody's time and patience with us today, and we sincerely appreciate you all coming to share your concerns. So thank you all, and have a good evening.